Is up as the Northern Ireland Assembly is recalled today, heaping pressure on Sir Keir Starmer to follow suit.
After this year's Strictly Come Dancing lineup failed to impress, we're asking whether it's time the BBC draws the curtains on its primetime show.
And in the sport, well, Olympics, of course, another British record and another silver medal as Matthew Hudson-Smith comes second in the 400 metres. In the velodrome, silver and bronze in the men's and women's team pursuit. And 51-year-old Andy McDonald performed admirably, which usually means he didn't win because he didn't, in the skateboarding against competitors more than half his age.
It's turning more humid through Thursday, but with that comes some rain. I'll have all the latest for you very shortly.
Just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Ellie's been trying to educate me this morning in modern music. Paul, you wouldn't like it.
Oh, no.
Oh, you would, I think.
No. Charlie XCX.
Charlie XCX.
Oh, I've heard about Charlie.
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard.
And Brat Girl Summer.
No, that's...
And Kamala Harris. It's all intertwined.
Oh, yes, I did hear about this.
It's awful. Sorry, Charlie XCX.
She's British as well, so you should be patriotic.
How do you spell that, by the way? Or is that the most stupid question I've ever asked? Yes.
Yeah.
OK.
But it's just the fact you sent me the song. Oh, I think you really like this.
Yeah, and I said, just learn it for the next week. And then you didn't do it, did you?
No,
didn't do your homework.
It's really not my
I thought it was very
cup of
new.
tea.
It's very poppy.
It's not my cup of tea.
It's not his cup of tea. But it's I was saying it was very current, so it needs to be with the times.
I'm trying, because my kids were doing...
Yeah.
We're on holiday.
Are your kids into it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But...
That's what I'm saying.
But the thing is, also, it looks weird of a man of a certain age that are going, yeah, I really like that. And you go, no.
Yeah, it's
you
like...
know?
Was it Gordon Brown who said he had the Arctic monkeys on his iPod?
Yeah.
All that sort of thing.
The thing is, they all do that. They'll go on Desert Island Discs and then have songs picked for them because they want to make it look a bit trendy. Cool. It's like, but you can see through it in a second.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. But I do think you'd like this one.
Yeah, no.
Tomorrow. Do your homework tonight. We'll chat tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, well, hey. Can't wait. Can't wait.
Throw those Glenn Campbell CDs out the way.
No.
Charlie XCX is coming. Is that right?
Oh,
yeah.
Right. OK, look, on to the main news this morning. And thousands of anti-racism protesters took to the streets across the country last night in a show of solidarity against anti-immigration groups.
Well, police forces braced for more than 100 demonstrations, prompting many businesses to close early over fears of violence.
Well, the King has reportedly asked for daily updates about the ongoing disorder.
Well, joining us now is retired Scotland Yard detective Mike Neville. Good to see you this morning, Mike. And the paper's describing this as the largest mobilisation of police in a generation.
Well, it's probably much like the 2011 riots, which I was involved in the investigation there. And I'm sure the police officers would be glad for a night off because they've been so busy and under attack. It'll be good for them to have the respite.
Well, I'm sure it will. Look, I mean, what we saw last night and overnight in some cases, I mean, huge amounts of people turning out, but this did remain pretty much peaceful, didn't it?
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any arrests at all. And what it'll enable the police to do is now to focus on sifting through the footage of previous incidents and finding those who are involved in all sorts of violence or carrying weapons. And so they can be dealt with. So hopefully the shift can now be to the post-incident investigation, identifying thugs from whoever they are, and getting them arrested and charged.
And what about this intelligence? So police were preparing for 100 protests, riots, demonstrations, whatever you'd like to call them. That's what they were preparing for. That didn't materialise. So does that mean that intelligence was credible? Or does that mean that the police actually just managed to avoid that nightmare scenario?
Well, it doesn't seem very good, does it? You know, that's the idea that was 100 protests, and what's happened with the police. There's been much talk, even the Prime Minister's talk of these alleged far right thugs being shipped in and bussed in and trained in. And the Daily Telegraph did some analysis of the arrests, and 7 out of 10 people came from within 5 miles of where they're arrested. Now, bearing in mind that many of these incidents occurred in sort of seaside towns, you're going to have people who are there on holiday as well. So this idea there was some coordination and people being moved into the areas for these protests doesn't seem to be right at all.
In a way, that's a positive thing, isn't it? Because if it's less coordinated, it's more likely to die out, isn't it?
Well, it's more likely to die out, but I suppose what it shows is that the government, you know, condemned these people straight away as far-right thugs. Now, with any riots, whether it's the Brixton riots, the riots of 2011, the poll tax riots, whether you agree or disagree with the people involved in them, it's often a shrewd thing to listen to people and say, why is this happening once it's occurred? And then you can analyse it and find reasons to stop it happening. But what's been different about this set of incidents is that the government straight away have just said it's thuggery and have dismissed any legitimate concerns that people might have. And not everybody there is a thug. There are thugs there who are attacking the police, but then there are people there with their kids who are sort of protesting about mass immigration and the like. And I just think sometimes that we need to listen to people and say, why are you doing this? And then it can be stopped next time.
Well, just carry on from that point, really. What do you make of the speed of which the police and the court system have dealt with all of this? 400 arrests made in relation to the scenes of violence we've seen in the last week or so. 140 people already been charged. Some, as we saw yesterday, already convicted and sentenced.
Well, that's much like 2011. With 2011, there was about 5,000 people prosecuted in London for violence. And of the 5,000, 500 of those were arrested at the time, looting or attacking the police or committing other crimes. So that's very similar. Another 500 were arrested because of fingerprints and DNA. The remaining 4,000 were arrested after the event. So you've got your footage that you're showing now of people attacking the police. That's the sort of thing that the police can now go through and over the coming weeks and months identify those involved in violence and arrest them.
A really interesting point before about, you know, listening to the concerns. How do you work that out though, Mike, when you've got, I mean, obviously people who are committing violent acts are committing a crime. So how do you differentiate between those people who are there for trouble and those people who are making legitimate noises, that have legitimate concerns?
Well, as I've said, you know, the 7 out of 10 people were local. So the police make much of speaking to community leaders, particularly from people from ethnic minorities. But somehow they've got to identify somebody who can speak for the people who are at these protests and are not using violence towards the police, are just there to express their legitimate concerns. And the concern seems to be about mass immigration, whether that's legal or illegal. Now, people involved in storming the hotels you can see here and setting fire to, we know that they are thugs and they're doing whatever, but there's a lot of people who are not doing that. And somehow they've got to find people who can articulate and speak and say, these are our concerns. Otherwise, we simply end up with this again. If the politicians refuse to listen, it doesn't really impact on them. It does impact on the police who get the bricks and wooden planks and whatever thrown at them. And that can't carry on.
Mike, are you hoping that this is now the end of the disorder that we've seen on the streets over the past week or so?
Of course, everybody will be hoping that there is no more riots and any attacks on the police or anybody else for that matter. Let's get that done. But I can only reiterate that we need a long-term solution so that it is like an enormous boil, and you can, on an enormous boil, you can keep putting a sticking plaster, but the boil will erupt, and that can't carry on. And I just think to dismiss people as everybody involved in this as far-right thugs is very foolish. There are some thugs and far-right thugs involved in it, but there are also people who've got legitimate concerns and they need to be listened to. OK, Mike, thanks very much indeed. Good to see you, as always. Thank you.
I mean, that message from Mike is coming through from a lot of people. And it's not about... This is where it gets slightly... Because some people think if you say what Mike said, then you're defending the thugs. Well, Mike clearly isn't. Obviously is not. But it's not about defending those people taking illegal action and behaving appallingly, which they are. It's about listening to those people who... None of it would be happening if there weren't simmering concerns under the surface, and that has to be listened to. And as Mike says, you can't condemn everyone as a thug if they've got concerns. It's like calling everyone racist if they voted for Brexit, isn't it? It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay. Now, at 10 minutes past 6, let's take a look at some other stories coming into the newsroom this morning.
Former ISIS bride Shamima Begum has lost her final appeal to reclaim her British citizenship. Her lawyers said they will take the case to the European Court of Human Rights. In 2015, she was 15 years old. She travelled to Syria with 2 school friends to marry an Islamic State fighter. She currently lives in a refugee camp in Syria.
Taylor Swift has officially cancelled all 3 of her Vienna shows scheduled for Thursday, Friday and Saturday of this week. It comes after 2 people were arrested in the Austrian capital on suspicion of planning an Islamist attack on the stadium that she was due to perform at.
Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson's eldest daughter, Princess Beatrice, celebrates her 36th birthday today. She's likely to get together with family and friends away from the spotlight. She has a daughter, Sienna, with her husband, Edoardo Mapellimozzi. Edoardo Mapellimozzi.
I thought you did very well, though.
Thank you very much indeed. Beatrice... What's she then called? Beatrice Mapellimozzi.
Yeah, it's a good name.
Bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
It's a strong name. I think so.
Good on her.
Good.
I quite like Beatrice and Eugenie.
Usually, no, they're nice girls, I think. They come across as nice girls, at least.
Yeah, seem to.
Speaking of new names, I haven't heard of this one before. A new face, perhaps. Perhaps not to you, but to us. We didn't recognise him, did we? But we like the look of him. This is Luke Miel with the weather.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to your GB News weather forecast for this morning, and it's a damp and humid start to your Thursday. We've got some heavy rain on the cards through the day today, but brighter signs as we go into Friday. Taking a look at the picture out there this morning, quite a grey, damp start across Wales, southwest England, and that rain spreads its way in across Northern Ireland and northern counties of England as well. As we go into the afternoon, some of that rain will turn quite heavy across these northern counties of England, Northern Ireland, southern Scotland. We could get the odd rumble of thunder. Largely dry towards the southeast though, some sunny breaks, but you can see how humid it is across the map. Temperatures of 21 to 24 degrees, feeling really quite uncomfortable out there with all that going on. Let's take a closer look then as we zoom across into Scotland. Through Thursday evening, still staying dry across the Northern Isles. As we come down into mainland Scotland, quite a lot of rain for the evening rush hour, so do take care if you're heading out and about. Moving southwards into northern England, some heavy pulses here denoted by the yellows and reds on the chart there. A lot of low cloud for Wales, outbreaks of rain and drizzle, similarly for the southwest of England as well. Somewhat drier further south and east though. Those temperatures staying on the warm side, and it stays warm and humid as we go through Thursday night. Further bits and pieces of rain to come, mainly out towards our western hills and coasts, but still some showers working their way eastwards. A lot of low cloud out there as well. Some clear skies towards the end of the night further north. Temperatures somewhat fresher here, but an uncomfortable night further south. 18 or 19 degrees really will feel uncomfortable first thing on Friday. Now, we get rid of that rain fairly early on across the southeast, some cloud to follow on behind. But actually, for England and Wales, a much brighter day to come on Friday. Much less humid, much more in the way of sunshine, feeling quite pleasant. And some sunny spells too further north, but a scattering of showers for Scotland, Northern Ireland and the far north of England. Top temperature, 25 degrees for the southeast, warmer still as we head towards the weekend. Bye-bye.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It keeps sinking down, doesn't it?
You're taller than me now.
Yeah, I know. It's quite nice, actually. I'll stay up here. You go down there. Lovely. Now, imagine, whilst you're down there, imagine having 30 grand extra in your bank to play with this year. Well, it could all be yours in the latest Great British Giveaway. Unfortunately, he can't win it, but you can. And
I'd buy a new chair if I could.
Don't miss out on your chance to win a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. It's extra cash that could really make a difference to your coming year. You could find yourself on that holiday you've always wanted to take, buy that treat that always seemed out of reach, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could be yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Oh, we're back on. Hello. Coming up, Paul Coyte's here with all your sport latest from the Olympics. That's next.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Royal biographer, very good friend of mine, Angela Levin. Angela, good to see you again. This is, you have to say, quite typical of the couple. They say one thing and do another. Britain's too dangerous, but Colombia isn't.
Well, yes. I mean, it's just fascinating that the UK Foreign Office has said to people that they mustn't go unless it's absolutely essential, because it is dangerous at the moment, especially in a place called Calais, where they have a list of, that's where one of the things that they're going to go. And the KGB in Calais has got 80% of global cocaine. So, and also they're doing a lot of taking people away and asking for money to give them back. So it is really ridiculous. And it actually conforms with my long-term suggestion that they try to manipulate the king and bring him to, stressfully to help him. And of course it won't happen, but that's what Harry's trying. I mean, to have 3 court cases on the Home Office when they keep saying the same thing, and he's trying and trying and trying, because that's why he won't bring his wife, that's why he won't bring his children. But really, it's a nonsense, because he would be very looked after with good protection people, but not the very, very top of the tree, which is really just for Camilla, Charles and William and Catherine. There's a distance in the level, and it's not taking our money, our tax money, to pay for it. It comes out of another pocket.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. Are you comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister?
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. We've got Olympic fever, haven't we? We don't want it to ever end. And that's a good thing, because Paul Coyte's here to tell us all about it. And it's not ending yet, actually.
It's
I'm
not.
getting ahead of myself.
Yes, you have until Sunday. So what have you enjoyed? I mean, sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot. It was like, well, there was that one in the afternoon. Have you enjoyed the other one in the evening? I'm sure. Are you liking the sports, the I mean, look at...
I do like the track and field when that happens. I do like
That's
the
your main
gymnastics, but
thing.
track and field I do think is the best showing.
Have you seen the speed climbing? I wasn't even going to mention this.
Speed climbing?
I wasn't even going to mention this today. But the speed climbing is the quickest Olympic sport there is. You'd think it was the 100 metres, which is under 9 seconds. They climb up a wall 6 seconds. 6 seconds.
Like Spider-Man.
I'd still be... Boom, it's all over. That's it.
Oh, how disappointing.
It is. I mean, it's an amazing thing and it's a very impressive sport. But when it comes to, you know, audience participation and
It's one of those...
it's all over very quickly.
But do you know what? It's one of those things that is probably better on television.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the 100-metre final.
Yeah.
I was in Beijing when what's he called, Usain Bolt, did it, and he won.
Were you? You were there
Yeah,
for
I saw that. But it's all over in such a flash.
Yeah.
That you're just like, oh, is that it?
Yeah.
It's just like, and it's just one of about 6 things happening at the same time.
Sure.
So it's just like bang,
huge
gone.
build up, and then all of a sudden.
So I just thought it'd be better. It's better on the telly when you.
So what you're trying to say is that it'd be better if they just slowed
it down.
Just take it easy. Just go a little slower. Matt Hudson-Smith.
I feel sorry for him.
I do as well. Now, Matthew Hudson-Smith is our finest 400-metre runner. We've got great history in 400 metres over the years, from Roger Black and our own Chris Akabusi who comes in, and, you know, but Matt Hudson-Smith has been really through it. I mean, he's had bad injuries. He's been, even said this himself, he's been on the verge of suicide, terrible mental health issues, real fight against adversity. But the last 2 years, things have turned around for him, and he's been running extremely fast, and things are beginning to click. So he was the fastest 400-metre runner in the world this year, and a great chance for us to win gold yesterday. And it was... And you know how it ended? It was almost exactly the same as the 1,500 metres. I don't know if you saw that the night before. And this is with Josh Kerr, that ended up getting beaten by the American who just came past at the last minute. And it was the same with Matt. So Matt, perfect 300 metres, coming into the last stretch, and you're thinking, come on, this is looking good. And then out of nowhere, Quincy Hall. Now, there's Quincy on the left, and there's Matt on the right. So Quincy Hall just comes... And I'm like, where did this guy come from? 30 metres, and the 400 metres is such a hard event because... they're sprinting, but it's kind of the longest sprint.
Yeah.
So it just came from nowhere and then pipped Matt, and Matt ran the 5th fastest 400 metres there's ever been. So a new European record, new British record, but it still wasn't enough because he was beaten by the 4th fastest.
Well, he should still be proud of himself, because that's still incredible.
I agree. And you know what? He was very upset. You could see when he crossed the line. And he let out an expletive, which you didn't hear, but you could see exactly what he said, but he wasn't very happy about it. Then he ran, and you could see he was upset. But what was interesting is that as he went round the crowd, and then he was hugging everybody and giving everybody high fives, and it was almost like his demeanour changed. He started from being upset to then you could see that he was proud of himself, and you could see the difference.
Should be.
Absolutely.
So he should be.
It was a fantastic run, but just not enough. But it was so close, and this is what really the story of the British Olympics has been, and it has been everybody's been so close. Well, Adam Peaty was 0.02 seconds away from winning gold. With COVID. Matt Richards as well in the swimming. He was a similar amount, less than 100th of a second. We got the women's coxless fours, which was 0.18 seconds behind. I'm not talking about the boxing, by the way. Amber Rutter, skeet shooting, lost in a shootout. Tommy Fleetwood lost by 1 shot. Josh Kerr. So everybody's so close. But that's what elite sport is all about. Those fine margins. Those fine margins.
Mind you, forget about fine margins. We've won 1,000 Olympic medals.
Yeah, I was counting them. And
for a long time.
I started counting. I think it was Atlanta '96. I was looking, so I've been clocking them up, and then I went and missed it yesterday. I was looking forward to it. It's like when you see midnight, or when you, I don't know. Have you ever done that where New Year is about to and it's about to change, or the clocks go back to look at your clock and watch it go back?
Oh yeah.
Have you done that?
Yeah.
You have done that.
Yeah.
It's the same with me with the 1,000th medal. But anyway, it was the men's team pursuit. This is in the cycling. You know your cycling, don't you? So you know how that works, where there's 4 of them, they all go in a line, then one will go from the back to the front, and it's all about the aerodynamism. It's the aerodynamism. So that's what it is. So then they keep moving around, and it's a 4K race around the track, which is 250 metres, by the way. So anyway, they were up against Australia, very, very close, coming round to the last lap. And again, it was another one which was so close. Ethan Hayter. And now, if you look, see, it's Ethan at the top. You see he's off his saddle. See, the other two are on their saddle. Ethan came off. Now, it looked like he'd either had his wheel clipped, but what had actually happened is that he'd just given everything and his legs just went. And it was just like, I can't... And this is, 200 metres to go. Came off the saddle and thought, I just can't go anymore.
Oh, no.
So, in the end, Australia won the gold medal, but again, by a whisker.
Yeah,
just by a
it's
whisker.
always by a whisker, isn't it?
Always is. Women won the bronze, by the way.
And there was a bit of drama in the heats of the men's 5,000 metres, wasn't there? What's a bit about that?
Yes, there was actually, and yeah, it got to be a bit of argy-bargy.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, George Mills is the son of Danny Mills, the former England footballer. So he's running in the 5,000 metres, and you know what it's like in these middle distance runners. You know Danny Mills.
Oh, no.
OK. Well, look, you know how it's often, when it gets very packed, there's elbows fly, spikes sometimes,
like
catch
that,
legs. It's exactly the same as what it's like, what goes on under the desk here right now. So anyway, George Mills got caught in the middle, tried to break through, got clipped by a French runner, Hugo A, or Hugo Hay, as we would call him. So anyway, he catches him. George goes down, and then he's out. So then he's out, and then he won't make it to the final. So look at this. This is the argy-bargy. That's Hugo there on the right. There's George. George is having none of it.
No.
There's pointy
George is
fingers.
having a word, yeah.
There are pointy fingers going on.
They are letting him compete in the next...
They are. So they've realised that it's... Look, that's almost like a breath there. Oh, thank goodness for that. So they did actually let him go through. So there'll be 20 in the 5,000-metre final on Saturday, and George will be part of that. But he'll have to get himself out of trouble.
I hate to laugh at anybody, because it's just... But I can't get my head around our rad dad, Andy McDonald.
Oh, no, don't be mean. He's so nice.
He's our friend, isn't he, Ellie?
Yeah, we had a chat with him, didn't we? We like him.
Andy McDonald, he was with us, yeah. It was the day you were off.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what happens when you're not
as well
around.
I wasn't in.
We make friends.
Oh, thanks a lot. But skateboarding at 51, I'm sorry, I just have to... Sometimes you have to grow old gracefully.
Well, you know what? I watched him yesterday, and after we got to know him, and
I know he's good.
He was going to be on the show this morning.
Oh,
yes,
God.
that would have been good.
I know, and I'd gone through everything. I spoke to Andy, and I spoke to Team GB. Yes.
And I heard I was on and pulled out.
And he said, I'm not coming on. No, he was... He's showing he's very tired. He's taking his family around Paris, so he's not doing anything.
OK, what about tomorrow?
But anyway, you know what? I'm going to keep on it.
Yeah, have a chat
I will
to him.
keep on at him. But 51... thing is, he's one of the great skateboarders of all time. Tony Hawk even had, Tony Hawk had video games named after him. He was there to support him. He's American, is Andy McDonald, Andy Mack, and his father was
American?
from Luton. Well, he kind of is. I think he was born here, and I think he's been here a couple of times. Do you remember?
That's what he was saying, yeah, and his dad's British.
And we decided that's as British as good enough for us.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll
British
claim him.
as we need.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
GB.
Yeah.
The accent's funny, though, isn't it, when you hear
It
him
was
speaking
really,
in an American accent?
It was really rad, and everything was like that.
He talks like this.
Yeah, sure. I'm really hoping to, where's GB? So anyway, he was, so he's 51 years old, and he came, and he looked like...
He looks like a 15-year-old.
He looked like
dresses like a 15-year-old.
I know, but the thing is, he still had the baggy shorts and the training, and he was like,
you see, that's
and it was like, oh, I'm not really sure. But he was brilliant, and some of the stuff he was doing. But then when you see the kids, we had a 14-year-old girl that won it the day before,
and she just dislocated her shoulder, hadn't she?
Oh no, this is Sky Brown, who's 16, who's our bronze medalist, but she's the one that dislocated. But they're teenagers.
Yes.
And so he's going against those. He did good, but it was like.
Well, that's what I think.
I know, and I mean, he was great, and he's a skateboard legend, but there was a bit where I wonder if the others are going, oh, Grandad over there. It did look a bit weird. But he did very well, but he didn't do well enough.
I think age is just a number. I think it's great. I'll tell him that tomorrow.
That makes me feel better anyway, Ellie, so that's good for me.
Encourages for those of us who are regularly dieting, Paul. Right, and you go... Oh, God, I can't believe it. I've only lost 100 grams today, and it feels like nothing at all. It can be important, that 100 grams, can't it?
Well, it's funny you should say that, Stephen, because Vinesh Phogat, I think, is who we're referring to. Vinesh is an Indian wrestler, and she was a great hope. There she is on the left-hand side. This is before the final. Now... Oh, that's her on the right-hand side now. There she is in the ring.
Changing her outfit.
Yeah, they moved. I think it just moved her from one side to the other. But anyway, they called her the Lioness of India, and she was disqualified from the gold medal match. The whole of India was ready for this, wanted to see her win gold. The problem is she exceeded the 50-kilogram restriction by 100 grams, which is the weight of a banana, by the way. So she's the night before. And boxers often do this. You've got to try and lose weight, go to the sauna, try and sweat it off. She even had her hair cut. They even cut most of her hair to think that maybe that would take away the grams, but it didn't make it. So she didn't make the 50 grams. She usually fought at 53 kilograms, never made the weight, and so had to be disqualified.
That's a real shame. For 100 grams.
Take your shoes off, do anything. But for 100
Get your earrings out.
Yeah, anything. Anything would have done. But they couldn't make it work for her. Give her another day. So she couldn't fight.
That's a real shame.
I think it's a real shame. Anyway. But rules is rules, Stephen.
Rules is rules.
That's what the Olympics are all about.
I was just thinking, when you said 50 kilograms, I'm like, there are people who are only 50 kilograms.
Well, you know what? I was thinking... I'm thinking, what are kilograms? Because I'm thinking stones. What is that in stones?
I know, you're even older than me.
I have no idea.
Right,
Thanks,
Paul, thank you very much.
I have lots more for you.
Yeah,
Let's
in the
look
next
forward
hour.
to it.
I do.
Thank you very much. We have an email in from Nick who says,
hi, Nick.
no coordination on your outfit front today. It's very discombobulating.
No, well, it is. It just doesn't show up on screen.
It's just a bit more subtle, I think.
Because I've got the turquoise in the tie.
Can I take this out?
Yeah.
Thanks. It's actually a very good match. With the blue, if you see that. You have matched it very well, but I would say it's more subtle than usual.
It is, but I haven't got a turquoise tie.
Well, you can buy one.
So, thanks very much indeed. I shall look online immediately.
That's what he does, you see. He does match my dresses, don't you? By buying new ties. Lovely.
I do. And
Just
loads of you
clear that
message
up.
in to say how much you like it, and then we get the odd person messaging in saying really horrible things about it.
I know, but we just ignore those.
You ignore those.
Diana said it's lovely to have two sunny, smiley presenters this morning.
Oh, where are they? What channel are they on? Right, we've got the papers with Andrew Reborn and Winston Davis in a couple of minutes, so don't move.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The A92 Tay Road Bridge is closed in both directions to high-sided vehicles because of strong winds. Only cars and single-decker buses are being allowed across the bridge at the moment. The A1 in Cambridgeshire is closed in both directions between the A47 at Wansford and the A43 at Wothorpe after an accident overnight near to RAF Wittering. Versions are via Duddington. In London, the A410 Uxbridge Road at Hatch End is partly blocked westbound because of a burst water main. That's affecting traffic heading towards the A404. On the M26 in Kent, there are delays already this morning heading west on the approach to the M25 because of roadworks. And there's a reduced rail service between Guildford and Woking because of a points failure. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
As time passes,
she could have saved Storm. You made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Let's take a look at some of the newspaper front pages today. And the Times leads with thousands taking to the streets to confront anti-immigration protesters.
The Telegraph reports Britain shuts up shop over riots threat as the nation anticipated about 100 protests last night.
The Metro accuses the Russian President, Putin, of stoking the riots by infiltrating online chat groups on platforms such as Telegram.
The Mail hails last night as a win for anti-hate marchers who say they face down the thugs.
And The Sun leads with nailed and jailed as more than 100 rioters are charged and over 400 are arrested.
All right, let's talk through some of that then with broadcaster and lawyer Andrew Eborn and social campaigner Winston Davis. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Andrew, let's start with you, shall we? Looking at the Times and the thousands who took to the streets last night.
It is extraordinary, isn't it? The United Kingdom divided is what we've had every single day for the last few days. We've had these horrible headlines seeing this sort of thing. And what it is, it's basically these... Yesterday, they were expecting lots more riots. People were boarding up their shops and so on and so forth. But actually, the counter to all of that, where there was the messages of hope coming out and saying, no, actually, we're going to confront the people who are doing this sort of stuff to make sure that people are protected. The concern I've got with this is the language that's used, because instantly you're turning around, you're either turning around and saying it's far right. Well, I don't know if it is far right. People are using the excuses. They remember the awful murders that we had of Elsie, Alice and Bibi, who were only sort of 7, 6 and 9. And they started off using that as an excuse. And it all started because a channel, a false channel on social media called Channel 3 Now, you might remember, and the people said it was a Russian channel and so on and so forth. I did a deeper dive into this, and basically they've only got 3,373 followers, but they suggested that it was something Islamophobia and so on and so forth, and that sort of triggered it. But the reality is the thugs who are going into these shops and looting and stealing television sets, it's got nothing to do at all with the murder of 3 little girls.
No.
And I think that's what we need to do. And it's also in the media, we need a responsibility, if you like, about looking at the language. Because all of them talk about it far right. I don't know if it's far right. I don't know if they're anti-immigration, or some of them might be. Others are just basic thugs. And you need to crack down on that sort of stuff.
But also, I mean, what is interesting with this, and I don't know if it's been every location where the violence broke out, but certainly in places like Blackpool, there was an area where there was the violence and the thuggery and all this sort of stuff, which obviously we absolutely condemn. But there was also a protest that remained absolutely peaceful of people who were just unhappy with the way the country is at the moment. But that's getting ignored.
Yeah, and I think that's right. And I think, again, in the media, we can shine a spotlight on the good stuff. There are legitimate protests. And most of these people are not protesters. Again, they're talking about the language. What should we describe them? People protest, you can do that lawfully and so on and so forth. But when you're going and looting shops, stealing a television set, as I say, has got nothing to do with the murder of 3 little girls. I think we need to take the sting out of that sort of stuff. We need to basically look at ways that we can calm things down, but also look at what the underlying currents are. What are the real problems that need to be addressed?
What I think, right, when I woke up this morning, I was thinking, please, please, please don't let there be more bad news in the newspapers about the riots. Don't let it be more negativeness. And to wake up and see photos of thousands of people standing up as being anti against the riots, and actually forget being anti, just a show of solidarity, without any anger, without hate, just coming together. just being together and just saying, do you know what? We are the majority of normal people of all different faiths, all different races, all different people. Just people being together. Despite, listen, we can be upset about what's going on in the country. I don't think anybody can say they're happy how the country's being one way or the other. But actually, can we solve it in a respectful, understanding way? We talk about lots of stuff. We talk about values and what we stand for as a British country, right? And I was actually, shamefully, I didn't actually know what our values are supposed to be in there. And I was doing a bit of research on it at Google. And it's democracy, the rule of law, individual liberty, mutual respect, and tolerance. And actually, having tolerance for people, having respect, understanding there's a democratic process in this country is central to our values of being British.
Yeah.
Surely these people are showing that in what they're doing there.
Yes, they are. But what about... I've got to be careful because, as you say, language is very important in all of this. But then part of the concern is, but people who, I'm again not talking about the thugs, I'm talking about people who have been legitimately protesting on the other side. Part of the concern is that with uncontrolled immigration, which is what it feels like at the moment, that actually British values are disappearing because actually you end up with communities where people are not integrated into British society.
So here's, look, I'm born here, right?
Yeah.
I've had to Google to find out what our British values are. So someone come to this country, maybe we need a conversation to say, do you know what? We need to remind ourselves as a country, and especially when you come into the country as an immigrant or a new person's country, this is what the country stands for. Yeah. This is the country we are. You know, you go to a business meeting or as a company, you'll have your mission statement and you'll have, you know, what your company stands for and what your goals and objectives are. As a country, maybe we need that. I mean, we've got it here, but it's not widely shared enough because I don't know it.
And the problem is this, Winston, as well, is that where you do celebrate your national identity, you get criticised for that, and there are risks on that sort of basis as well. But it was interesting, as Andrew Murray KC, who was the judge of Liverpool Crown Court, he said the collective grief of residents of Southport was hijacked by the men's callous actions, and that's the point. It's the grief, and you turn around, the families were pleading for people, don't riot and so on and so forth. What's interesting is the last election that we had, they were all campaigning about immigration and about the economy and so on and so forth. And obviously the economy had that terrible blip in the last few days. Obviously immigration is front and centre again. I can guarantee if we held the election again today, Starmer would not be in power.
Oh, really?
I'm going for the soundbite. Yeah. But you're working as a principle. But I would urge again, we should look at the language that's used. I know that the discussions in newsrooms are get rid of these expressions like far right, get rid of expressions like protests, where it's not a protest. Protests are a legitimate cause.
But then within all of this, what is raised time and time again is that legitimate concerns are not being addressed by politicians. You know, now, Michaela's literally just messaged in, hi, Michaela. And she says, it's not about race, it's about fairness to British citizens and the fact we feel like we're second class.
Yeah, and
that's fair, isn't it?
I'm not, and 100%. And this goes back to what I've been saying for a long time, but particularly this last week, that British people, a lot of working class who made up majority of this country, have been forgotten about, have been underfunded, have been marginalised for decades. The closure of traditional working class jobs, the selling off of council housing, you know, forgetting that they actually exist, they're not given a voice. And I 100% I understand that, but I think that the frustration is being pointed at the wrong groups of people when actually it's the governments that have been controlling. They make the rules. They decide who can come to the country, who's stopping people come to the country. They're the people that should be held to account.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and it's fair to say, you know, this is not a Labour problem because Conservatives have been in for the last 14 years. Well, it's not made by Labour, this particular issue, but it's theirs to solve now.
Oh, exactly. And this is what is very easy when you're in opposition to criticise. That the reality is we need, as a society, to get together and turn down the narrative. And we've seen that in terrible situations in America and so on and so forth, with assassination attempts as a result of rhetoric. And I do think, as I say, the obligation in the media is to try and turn down the language that we use. But also, I think you're right, some people say that's their concern. Other people's on these riots, it's not about that. So that's not the trigger for them. I think we need to look at what the real issues are. We need to get it back to the whole concept about society and all work on this together. I live in central London, where we have the biggest, wonderful Jewish community together with the Muslim community, the black and various. It is a wonderful melting pot of different things who've lived together perfectly peacefully for a very long time. The vile rhetoric that there's been online has spilled out onto the streets, and that's what we need to stop.
Yeah. Have you been satisfied with the way that Keir Starmer has handled this past week and what he said, talking about things like those involved in the riots will feel the full force of the law? Is that the right thing to say? Does that go far enough? Do you think he should have recalled Parliament? Because Stormont's been recalled, but Westminster wasn't.
Yeah, I think he should have recalled Parliament. This is a national issue that needs to be talked about today, not in a month's time. Listen, if you're going around, you're setting fire to hotels and you're doing some pretty bad things, like, yeah, you need to be dealt with. I think his way of doing it quickly, you know, these real quick turnarounds, someone got 3 years yesterday and 20 months or whatever, is to try and send a message to try and curb more people coming out and say, oh, listen, look, you watch out. I think he would have been damned if he did, damned if he didn't.
I think you also need to look at history. I mean, I always say that history repeats itself because we don't learn the lessons from history. You look at the riots in 2011 and everything else. What you need to do is send a message to people very quickly. The consequences of your actions are you're getting these heavy prison sentences. It's going to ruin your life, effectively, if you've got a sentence against you. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to process these very, very quickly. Where they're going to put them is another issue, because obviously the prisons are full.
Yes.
But you're sending these messages. You get 3 years for this. You see some of the pictures which they've got on the front pages of some of these papers. There we go, nailed and jailed, they say in The Sun. And you have a look at that sort of side, and they've got youngsters, I mean, really young people on there and so on and so forth, whose lives are going to be ruined as a result of these criminal convictions. So it's a message to everybody, turn down the rhetoric. These are the consequences if you riot, and this is going to happen very, very quickly.
Yes, well, this is it. Don't riot. I mean, obviously, don't riot. You shouldn't need to be told, but still, your voice should still be heard if you have legitimate concerns.
But just to round off, but the thing is this: you say don't riot, but let's talk about the rhetoric and the language has been used. It's been used more commonly now to get people, you know, riled up about, pointing the finger at immigrants for problems, when I say, you know, they should be pointing it upstairs, the people making the decisions. And then when they get hijacked by the far right, because we're not saying they're all far right that are involved in this, but the people that want to, you know, direct this must be far right. You know, there must be a far right element in there. Those are the people that are guiding this, and that's got to be looked at.
Winston, let's take a look at the Times. Indeed, loads of the newspapers this morning carrying this story. Taylor Swift has cancelled her Vienna shows over a terror plot.
Yep, Taylor Swift has 3 shows that were supposed to be on in Austria. A 19-year-old suspect who had sworn his allegiance to Islamic State a few months ago, a couple of months ago, or last month even, sorry, July. And they had found some substances suitable for an explosion at his parents' place. And on the backdrop of there being a terror attack in Vienna, not too distant, long time ago, they decided that, you know, this is the right action to take. Goes back to what you were just saying before about people, you know, being influenced, being radicalised online, because he is radicalised online. And it's another thing of those of, you know, he's 19 years old, very young, his life's over, or, you know, the life he could have had is gone. And, you know, he's taken the decision to do what he's done here, which, you know, shocking.
It's little girls being targeted again, though, isn't it? It would be teenagers going to see Taylor Swift.
You're so right, Ellie. And you're looking at it was Elsie, Alice and Bibi who were at that Taylor Swift dance class. And you're talking on that sort of basis. But there are always threats. Anybody who runs events, you know that this is what's happening, and do that sort of stuff. There's got to be more to it than just this little knowledge. There's got to be a major incident. And the only way to avert it was to cancel that concert. We haven't got the full story yet, and hopefully that will come out. But the target, as you say, talking about little girls and that sort of stuff with Taylor Swift, it's abhorrent, absolutely abhorrent, and we should call it out.
And Taylor Swift's playing in London again next week, so it'll be interesting to see what the authorities are doing in terms of keeping those.
Are you going? Have you been?
I'm looking into it. I went last month.
Right.
So if I can
go again.
I don't know if I can afford to go again.
It's a fortune.
They're so expensive.
How much was it?
It was £250 each.
each song?
It's a lot for pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Each song.
It's a lot for one artist.
Plus whatever you spent on booze while you were there.
Oh, there we go.
She did send me a video halfway through.
Is that halfway through?
Can you remember? Can you remember sending me that video? Very good. She was having a whale of a time.
Well, I'm glad I survived the tail actually, because I was on the edge, wasn't I?
I saw Green Day similar, but the ticket prices are crazy. I saw Green Day similar sort of price. It's about 250 quid. If you're taking a whole group of people, you're taking a family going to see Taylor Swift. You've got 2 girls or whatever it is, or the boys as well can go and see her. It's an absolute fortune. It's a grand.
I know.
You know? Crazy.
You're telling me. I took my sister.
Right? Oh,
Never again.
No. Very bad influence on you for a kick-off. Andrew, talking of all things which are a little bit show busy, The Sun says the closing ceremony of the Olympics on Sunday is going to have Tom Cruise in.
Yes, what a spoiler alert that is. There you go. Well, apparently what's going to happen is similar. Well, I know, but they've said exactly that. What's happened? Hollywood star Tom Cruise will perform. He's going to do this basic sort of thing. And obviously the next Olympics are going to be in the States. And what's going to happen? He's going to take the flag. He's going to do a sort of Mission Impossible drop down into the stadium. He's going to take the flag and he's going to go all the way off to the Hollywood Hills and the Hollywood sign. But it's a bit of a spoiler alert. And you turn around and think just how brilliantly we here in Britain, if you remember the 2012...
It can't be topped.
It can't be topped, can it? We didn't tell anybody. And the late Queen, Her Majesty, who was brilliant in it, and you saw her skydiving, you might remember, on that sort of thing, with the James Bond, and it was basically, we saw Daniel Craig coming in, and you thought it can't be the Queen, couldn't possibly be her.
It was the Queen, because she appeared.
And she turned round, and she did this skydiving, and it was absolutely
unbelievable.
Brilliant. Yeah, but you're right, you can't top that. But Tom Cruise will be trying to do that, Tom.
And he's not French, so what's that about?
No, but it's the tie-in with... You're right, he's not French, only past French, but Cruise, you could say it in French accent. But he basically is the connection between this and the next one in America where it's going to be. So that's the idea. He's taking it after the ceremony. But it will get people talking as opposed to talking about the opening ceremony. So it's going to be interesting to see what's happening on that sort of basis.
Let's see if it's just
hope it doesn't have any wardrobe malfunction. Can I just bring you back to... Because I've had a message in from Ian.
Yes.
Who says, on this whole protest, riots, all that sort of thing, he says, Stephen is desperately trying to find something negative to say about last night's display from real, true Brits, not the far right that disgraced this country.
Are you?
No, and it worries... what worries me about this whole debate... is that people get so polarised in it. And you are either being, you either seem to be very, very anti all immigration, or in some cases being a bit racist, or you are the exact opposite and you can't say anything without being racist. I've been called all sorts on Twitter.
Yes, and not just on Twitter.
No, but it's just... But this worries me that we can't have a debate on this. Yes. You can't show concern about things without being labelled racist.
You're absolutely right, and I do think we always have to sort of shine more light and less heat on the situation. We have to be able to discuss this rationally without being labelled. It's like if you talk about I don't know, Gaza, if you say anything positive about Palestinians and you hate, I'm pro-peace, and you can get labelled, oh, you're anti-Semitic, or you're an apologist for Hamas. No, we're pro-peace. You can be pro-peace on that sort of basis, but just to label you because you want to have a debate about it is not right. What we want to do is take the sting out of it. We want to rectify the situation. And I always say, look, sunlight is the best disinfectant. Let's look at the causes of these issues. We're not taking either side. You're trying to find a positive way forward. And it's wrong to apply labels. It doesn't help the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, and just sort of round off on that. I mean, this goes back to these British values, right? Mutual respect being one of them. And it's like, if you think something and I think something, and if we don't agree on it, well, I've got to come to this, sometimes you come to this point and go, and do you know what? We agree to differ on it, but with respect.
Yeah. Well, that's what this channel was set up to do.
Well, but that's the point of these conversations, right? And then we have a democratic process where we all cast our views, and on balance, however that works out, we get to the point of saying, right, well, this is how we all believe as a society, and this is how we're going to move forward. And it does, you're right, 100%, because I try not to read the comments, but I know there's people going, oh, he's an idiot, why is he... And it's like, I just want to have. I want to live, all of us to live together as happily as best we can, but accepting our differences. You know, like we're different people, but we've got to get together and move on as one.
Well, the thing is, online's become the new front line, and what happens is you get these keyboard warriors who often don't use their real names, they hide behind little Wookie poo or whatever they call themselves online. And the reality is working on that sort of principle. So watch the language. It's not helpful.
Yes.
Well, Winston, Andrew, you've been very helpful this morning. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next hour. Let's take a look at the weather now with Luke.
A brighter outlook with Bob Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to your GB News weather forecast for this morning, and it's a damp and humid start to your Thursday. We've got some heavy rain on the cards through the day today, but brighter signs as we go into Friday. Taking a look at the picture out there this morning, quite a grey, damp start across Wales, southwest England, and that rain spreads its way in across Northern Ireland and northern counties of England as well. As we go into the afternoon, some of that rain will turn quite heavy across these northern counties of England, Northern Ireland, southern Scotland. We could get the odd rumble of thunder. Largely dry towards the southeast though, some sunny breaks, but you can see how humid it is across the map. Temperatures of 21 to 24 degrees, feeling really quite uncomfortable out there with all that going on. Let's take a closer look then as we zoom across into Scotland. Through Thursday evening, still staying dry across the Northern Isles. As we come down into mainland Scotland, quite a lot of rain for the evening rush hour, so do take care if you're heading out and about. Moving southwards into northern England, some heavy pulses here denoted by the yellows and reds on the chart there. A lot of low cloud for Wales, outbreaks of rain and drizzle, similarly for the southwest of England as well. Somewhat drier further south and east though. Those temperatures staying on the warm side, and it stays warm and humid as we go through Thursday night. Further bits and pieces of rain to come, mainly out towards our western hills and coasts, but still some showers working their way eastwards. A lot of low cloud out there as well. Some clear skies towards the end of the night further north. Temperatures somewhat fresher here, but an uncomfortable night further south. 18 or 19 degrees really will feel uncomfortable first thing on Friday. Now, we get rid of that rain fairly early on across the southeast, some cloud to follow on behind. But actually, for England and Wales, a much brighter day to come on Friday. Much less humid, much more in the way of sunshine, feeling quite pleasant. And some sunny spells too further north, but a scattering of showers for Scotland, Northern Ireland and the far north of England. Top temperature, 25 degrees for the southeast, warmer still as we head towards the weekend. Bye-bye.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning. Between Dundee and Fife, the A92 is closed to high-sided vehicles over the Tay Road Bridge because of strong winds. The A1 in Tyne and Wear is closed southbound from junction 69 at the Dunstan interchange to junction 65 at Birtley, where overnight roadworks have overrun. The A1 in Cambridgeshire is closed in both directions between the A47 at Wansford and the A43 south of Stamford after an accident overnight. There are long delays as a result. In Surrey, there are some cancelled trains at Woking because of a points failure. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking 20 minutes in westbound queues getting onto the M25 because of roadworks. And in East Sussex, the A26 is closed northbound off the A259 between Newhaven and Southampton, where overnight roadworks have overrun. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
We could be calling you with the news that you've won our latest Great British giveaway. An incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. David from Kent was our last big winner. Listen to what he had to say about getting that winning call.
Hi, I'm David from Kent and I won £15,000 and it couldn't have come at a better time. I was gobsmacked. What have you got to lose for what it costs? In fact, I've done it again this week, so I'd recommend it to anybody.
For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. Anti-racism protesters unite.
Thousands of counter-protesters take to the streets.
Well, that's after last night saw the largest mobilisation of police in a generation as Britain braced for 100 anti-immigration protests.
In an unprecedented move, King Charles asked the government for daily updates on the demonstrations as tensions remain high.
Stormont gears up as the Northern Ireland Assembly is recalled today. That puts pressure on Sir Keir Starmer to follow suit.
After this year's Strictly Come Dancing lineup failed to impress, we're asking whether it's time that the BBC draws the curtains on its primetime show.
And in the Olympic Games, only a few days to go now. Another gold medal lost by a whisker as Matthew Hudson-Smith takes silver in the 400 metres. 2 medals in the velodrome for Team GB in the men and women's team pursuit. And a great chance of gold this evening. I've got my fingers crossed and I'm touching wood and everything. With Emma Finucane in the Keirin final, which I will attempt to explain very shortly. It's the one with the...
It's turning more humid through Thursday, but with that comes some rain. I'll have all the latest for you very shortly.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I don't know what's going on here. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. We've got Olympic
What's a Keirin?
Keirin. See, I'll give the whole explanation shortly, but it's, you know, where they have the man on the little motorbike. Have you ever seen that?
No.
So it's indoor track. You get the man with the motorbike.
The man with the motorbike,
and he goes along like that, and he goes along, and he's got a little basket with shopping on the front, and then he goes faster. Then he goes a bit faster.
What are you talking
They follow
about?
him, and then have you not seen that? That's the Keirin.
It's a supermarket sweep Olympic sport.
It's very bizarre, and I think it began. I believe it to be the case that it started in Japan with like a gambling thing. Am I making this up?
Run after the basket.
So they go. He's on the motorbike. You've got the cyclist behind, so he goes around. I'd love that job. Goes around the track, and then they follow him. And then after a couple of laps, he goes just like a pacemaker.
He goes to the side, doesn't he? And then
goes
they
off.
go.
Correct. He goes off to the side.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Parks the bike. They then start racing.
And they start whizzing.
See, the thing is, if I was on the motorbike, I'd take them on.
You've seen it. You've seen it.
No, well, that's
Little
just to get them up to speed because they'll be on fixed geared bikes, won't they?
Oh, no.
On the velodrome. So they won't have gears. They'd be very hard to get going.
Yeah.
Because they're on fixed gears
But
and then they get up to speed.
He takes them at one speed.
Yeah, gets
then
them
he
up to
goes up a bit faster.
Yeah.
And then when he gets to over 120 miles an hour, that's when he goes off the side.
Oh,
The
well, yes, I
Keirin.
know now. I just
now
thought
you
he
know.
was actually talking about some sport where it involved a man on a little motorbike.
Well, no, he's a man on a little
But
motorbike.
that's just getting him up to speed.
Yeah, but he's still there, a little man on a little motorbike.
See, I love the Olympics because you see all these sports that you wouldn't appreciate in normal day-to-day life. So, you know, was it the kayaking or the canoeing the other day where they do it at speed and they do it in about 100 seconds down this track?
Yeah.
Track in water.
In water. What would you call that?
The Lee Valley Whitewater,
Yes,
which is an
whitewater
amazing place to
rafting
go.
almost.
And you can see, that's where they all train.
It's amazing.
And you can actually go there if you want to and do like a whitewater ride and go on one of these and then
terrifying.
I mean, I don't fancy it myself, but I like watching it.
OK, we can go there and have a look.
I know you say you've watched a lot of Olympics this week. I'm wondering whether you've dreamt it with some of the stuff. They're all going down a track in a canoe.
Well, you know, in a white water.
So if you told someone that never seen it before, you're going, yeah, so there's this man on a motorbike that goes along like this, and then you've got those like white water, you'd be like, no.
The white water after.
That's why we love the Olympic Games.
Very, very good.
Yes.
I love it too, and I'm very sad that it's going to be over on Sunday.
Me too. Me too.
But still lots of days of fun to come.
There is. Enjoying the weather.
And then we've got the Paralympics after that.
Of course we have. Yeah, of course. We've got that straight afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh, and I love that as well. Oh, that'd be good. Yeah, OK.
Right, we'll see you later on. Okay. Let's crack on with the main news this morning. And thousands of anti-racism protesters took to the streets right across the country last night in a show of solidarity against anti-immigration groups.
Well, police forces have braced for more than 100 demonstrations, prompting many businesses to close early over fears of violence.
Well, King Charles took the unprecedented decision to ask for daily updates about the ongoing disorder.
Well, GB News South East England reporter Ray Addison joins us live now from Croydon. Very good morning to you, Ray. And what was the scene like in Croydon last night?
Well, police say there was about 15 arrests in London last night, and 10 of them took place here in Croydon. Police saying around 50 youths gathered here in North End. That's the main shopping area. Just pan around. If you've been watching social media video, you'll recognise some of these stores and some of these scenes. It's obviously a very quiet scene this morning, and I certainly cannot see any sign of major disruption, destruction, certainly no smashed windows. We've got a few boarded up shops here, but it's hard to tell whether that's just because they're having some kind of refit rather than trying to prevent any kind of criminality. Very interestingly, the police are saying that this was not the far right. It wasn't even counter-protesters, simply people intent on causing pure antisocial behaviour, although I have spoken to local people and they're telling me that it was actually a demonstration against the EDL. Of course, that's not the view that the police is taking. So the police are saying that people were seen pushing each other around here, escalating the situation, trying to aggravate each other into scenes of disorder, and ultimately objects were picked up, dragged down the road and thrown down the road as well. Bottles were thrown at police officers, and also fireworks as well were shot at police officers too. Now, the police responded. The Met Police, assisted by British Transport Police, they were wearing their helmets, they had their shields as well, all of their protective gear, as you would expect in these kind of situations. They began forcing the group into ever sort of smaller areas to try and contain them, and ultimately 4 arrests were made on suspicion of violent disorder. One person was arrested on suspicion of assaulting an emergency worker, another person for going equipped for arson, and another person for breaching a Section 35 dispersal order which had been in place. Now, thankfully, nobody was believed to have been seriously injured. I've been looking, Croydon actually has 4 MPs. I've been looking at their social medias. I've seen no comment yet on the disorder which took place last night, although all of the MPs have been commenting, as you would expect, on the disorder that has been taking place generally around the country. But right here, right now, for what was the scene of the most arrests, as far as I understand it, across the country, all is quiet.
OK, Ray, thanks very much indeed. Well, the Northern Ireland Assembly has been recalled to debate the violent protests following days of unrest.
Well, it's putting increasing pressure on Sir Keir Starmer to bring the Westminster Parliament together, with some saying Cobra meetings simply aren't enough, given the level of disorder we've seen in the past week.
Let's talk to our Northern Ireland reporter, Doogie Beattie, who's at Stormont. So why has the decision been made to recall Stormont, Doogie?
Well, that is the question, really, isn't it? Because, I mean, the 30 members put their names forward, and you need 30 members to recall Stormont Assembly. But what they're talking about today is condemnation of the violence. I think everybody condemns the violence, and trying to force the Deputy and First Minister of Northern Ireland to finish off this draft document on race relations in Northern Ireland. Now, that all may seem very good on the outside, but none of them are actually hitting the real problem, why people are out on the streets, and how to address that. Because, of course, as I've said many times, the working class areas are taking the main bulk of undocumented immigration. Nobody in Northern Ireland is against immigration as such, Stephen. They're very much against this undocumented immigration that has came in. Now, the police force of Northern Ireland has said last night that all leave and rest days have been cancelled. In fact, they have asked for help for other British police forces. Those police officers will not be in frontline duties. They will be just solely for containing any violence that happens. And I'm very pleased to hear them putting that out, because social media, for the amount of stuff that can be misinformation. In the Republic of Ireland, there was a lot of stuff saying that PSNI officers were south of the border. That's simply not true. And then there was some saying that police officers from the south of the border were coming north. That's not true either. If there was extra officers to come into the Republic of Ireland, they would come from European states, and those that would be in Northern Ireland would come from British states. But the real thing here, Stephen, is that even those working class areas in the Republic of Ireland that have felt this first, felt the effects of such immigration. I mean, we have tented villages in the middle of Dublin. That says a lot for, there's nowhere to put these people. They have came north to support those in Northern Ireland, scenes never seen in Belfast before, and the political classes here aren't quite sure how to deal with that. So by bringing this today, they could actually make things worse by really ignoring the elephant in the room, which is what is wrong with these classes, and is anybody talking to them? That's the main point. So there will be protests outside Stormont today, we believe, although it's not really the weather for protests, but they will meet at 12 noon, and they will have their minutes in the sun. But really, there's nothing that can come out of this, because the problem here is immigration, and Stormont has no control over that. It is not a devolved matter.
Okay, Jiggy Beattie there for us in Stormont. Thank you very much.
Well, a 58-year-old man has been jailed for 3 years over his involvement in the violent disorder that swept across the nation.
Well, two others, aged 41 and 29, were sentenced to 20 and 30 months, respectively. This morning, we're asking, is prison really the solution for rioters?
Well, let's talk to founder of the Oasis Charitable Trust, Steve Chalk. And, Steve, it's always good to see you. What's your take on this? There's got to be some sort of deterrent against what is very clearly wrong behaviour. But is a fast-track system and getting people into a prison cell within a matter of days the right way forward?
Well, I agree with you, Steve. People have got to face the consequences of their criminal behaviour, haven't they? But then we, as a society, also need to think more deeply about the causes of that behaviour in the first place. Of course, the criminal justice system itself, which I'm involved in now, Oasis is involved in, it sits at the end of a long chain of failure of other systems, the failure of the education system for the people involved, the failure of the mental health system, perhaps, etc., etc., etc. So in sentencing people, we've got to think about the drivers of their behaviour. That, you know, all behaviour is communication, as I think we've talked together before about. All behaviour is communication. So what sits behind this? So I think in the long term, we've got to deal with those issues.
Yeah, and look, and we'll come back to that, Steve. It just occurred to me as you talked about the sentencing there. Is it right that someone, I mean, this person who's been jailed for 3 years, for example, is it right that someone is being sentenced to set an example to others rather than necessarily on the nature of their index offence?
I absolutely agree with what you're suggesting there. I don't know the circumstances of the crime that those 3 individuals committed, but yeah, none of us should be hung out as an example to somebody else. We are responsible for our own behaviours, not responsible for the behaviours of others. So not knowing the circumstances of those sentences, I hope very much so, and trust that the courts involved and the judges involved gave sentences that were correct for the behaviours of those individuals. But it's what happens to them now, because being locked up for 3 years, or half of that 3 years, or 40% of that 3 years, as things currently stand, will make absolutely no difference unless you work with those people whilst they're in jail to help them understand what triggered their behaviour and emerge from prison more positively and more engaged positively in society, rather than just tooled up for more crime.
About the teenager who you've probably seen in the news this week. He's believed to be the first rioter to have been jailed for 2 months for causing criminal damage. He's only 18 years old. He's got those 8 weeks in prison. How beneficial, if at all, is a short sentence like that for an 18-year-old? Would that stop him from ever reoffending? Or do you think actually being in prison for those 2 months could actually expose him or drive him further towards crime?
I think, again, you're exactly right. So it's not just the sentence itself and what happens during the sentence, but it's the assessment of the needs of that young person and what follows through. So the youth jail that we now run, the alternative to a jail, it's called Oasis Restore. It's not just about the years or the months that a young person spends with us as we help them confront their behaviour and what triggers their behaviour. It's the day they leave us. It's the day they go through the gate and the care that they get that we follow through on that makes all the difference. You're exactly right. Short-term sentences without the care and the follow-up are pointless. So it's that ongoing care that's going to make the difference.
I mean, it does seem to be a case at the moment where this is... I mean, on the political front of all of this, Steve, it is about sending a message. It's about sort of slapping down on the bad behaviour, if you like. But as you said before, what it doesn't do... I mean, with these individuals, it doesn't look as to why they're doing this in the first place. And as a society, it's not addressing why a good proportion of Britain is unhappy at the moment.
So all of these issues are the drivers, aren't they? So we can deal in the short term with some riots on the streets, and it's wonderful, as you said earlier, to see people turn out to make a difference. But the reality is that unless we understand what has driven this behaviour, unless we work in our communities to make a difference, we're going to get nowhere. I remember back to the riots of August 2011. And in fact, to tell you a story about that, I was away on holiday on the 8th of August when the leader of Enfield Council called me and said, look, the Sony Centre, the main distribution centre for England, was burnt to the ground by a gang who looted the building and then set light to it. Tonight, he said, the police have clear evidence that your new school building, it was worth £30 million, is going to be burnt to the ground. So I asked if the police or the fire brigade could intervene. I was told that that was impossible because of the severity of the situation across London and other places. So I said, what's the point of this call? And the leader of the council simply said, the chief executive officer simply said, so that you can evacuate the building and make sure that there's no loss of life. Get everybody out. So what I did after the call is I phoned one of our local youth workers. We work in the community there. Her name's Kat, actually. I told Kat this story. I said, you've got to stop the building being burned. And she said, well, what do I do? I said, well, do what you always do. And you know what happened, Stephen? She and the young people from the youth community that she led, they baked cakes. I didn't ask them to do this until about 4 o'clock. They baked cakes, and that evening they sat outside the building. And of course, when the gangs that were rioting came, they knew them all. They were their friends. So instead of the building getting burned, they enjoyed some cakes together and talked through the evening, and that building's still there. What you're talking about is community action, isn't it? We are responsible for our communities, and the stronger our communities, the more resilient we will be against this kind of crime that we've seen in these last few days. But where people don't know each other and feel alienated and not listened to, this is just the symptom of that pent-up feeling inside.
Yeah, it's always good to talk to you, Steve, because you put things so well. Thanks very much indeed.
Now,
it probably sums up a lot of what a lot of you are feeling there, actually. It's
yeah,
not,
summed it up well.
It's not condoning the violence, but this pent-up frustration so many people have got.
Yeah, and it's that sense of feeling alienated, not feeling listened to. A lot of it is just people feeling as though they've been forgotten, isn't it? Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. Now, at 19 minutes past 7, let's take a look at some other stories coming into the newsroom this morning.
Former ISIS bride Shamima Begum has lost her final appeal to reclaim her British citizenship. Her lawyers have said they will take the case to the European Court of Human Rights. She was 15 back in 2015 when she went to Syria with school friends to marry an Islamic State fighter.
Taylor Swift has officially cancelled all 3 of her Vienna shows scheduled for Thursday, Friday and Saturday of this week. It comes after 2 people were arrested in the Austrian capital on suspicion of planning an Islamist attack on the stadium that she was due to perform at.
And Princess Beatrice is 36 today. The late Queen's granddaughter, likely to get together with family and friends away from the spotlight. She herself has a daughter, Sienna, with her husband, Eduardo.
Now, should we have a look at the weather?
I think we better head. Here's Luke.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to your GB News weather forecast for this morning, and it's a damp and humid start to your Thursday. We've got some heavy rain on the cards through the day today, but brighter signs as we go into Friday. Taking a look at the picture out there this morning, quite a grey, damp start across Wales, southwest England, and that rain spreads its way in across Northern Ireland and northern counties of England as well. As we go into the afternoon, some of that rain will turn quite heavy across these northern counties of England, Northern Ireland, southern Scotland. We could get the odd rumble of thunder. Largely dry towards the southeast though, some sunny breaks, but you can see how humid it is across the map. Temperatures of 21 to 24 degrees, feeling really quite uncomfortable out there with all that going on. Let's take a closer look then as we zoom across into Scotland. Through Thursday evening, still staying dry across the Northern Isles. As we come down into mainland Scotland, quite a lot of rain for the evening rush hour, so do take care if you're heading out and about. Moving southwards into northern England, some heavy pulses here denoted by the yellows and reds on the chart there. A lot of low cloud for Wales, outbreaks of rain and drizzle, similarly for the southwest of England as well. Somewhat drier further south and east though. Those temperatures staying on the warm side, and it stays warm and humid as we go through Thursday night. Further bits and pieces of rain to come, mainly out towards our western hills and coasts, but still some showers working their way eastwards. A lot of low cloud out there as well. Some clear skies towards the end of the night further north. Temperatures somewhat fresher here, but an uncomfortable night further south. 18 or 19 degrees really will feel uncomfortable first thing on Friday. Now, we get rid of that rain fairly early on across the southeast, some cloud to follow on behind. But actually, for England and Wales, a much brighter day to come on Friday. Much less humid, much more in the way of sunshine, feeling quite pleasant. And some sunny spells too further north, but a scattering of showers for Scotland, Northern Ireland and the far north of England. Top temperature, 25 degrees for the southeast, warmer still as we head towards the weekend. Bye-bye.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, imagine having £30,000 in your bank account this year just to play with. Well, it could be yours in the Great British Giveaway, as it's our biggest cash prize so far this summer. Here's how it could all be yours.
Don't miss out on your chance to win a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. It's extra cash that could really make a difference to your coming year. You could find yourself on that holiday you've always wanted to take, buy that treat that always seemed out of reach, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could be yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed. Now, still to come, we're going to be debating, has Strictly Come Dancing had its day?
Yes.
That's next.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Arlene Foster on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
She could have said Storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Oh, sorry, just readjusting my seat.
You're not very comfortable there today, are you? You're up and down like a yo-yo.
Just keeps sinking. Anyway, I'd clearly not make it on Strictly Come Dancing with my moves. Anyway, fans of the show have taken to social media to lament this year's celebrity lineup. I
quite like the lineup this year. I'm just going to put it out there. I know it's controversial. I quite like it.
I've only heard about one of them. Apparently, some people are calling it the worst cast ever.
Yes.
In fact, it's called a cast, which is...
Yeah. But you know JLS star JB Gill?
No.
OK, well, he's on it. DIY SOS presenter Nick Knowles?
I do know him.
There you go, there's one.
What?
Well, they are among those set to take part. But, of course, there have been allegations about the show. Abusive behaviour by professional dancers have all been in the papers in the last few weeks or so. So, this morning, we're asking, has Strictly Come Dancing had its day?
Let's talk to media commentator Paula London and showbiz journalist Julianne Traynor. Morning, ladies, to you both.
Morning. Morning.
Julianne, what do you think? Is it time to ditch the glitter ball?
Absolutely not. I think the show will come back bigger and better than ever. And not only that, but they're also celebrating their 20-year anniversary this year, so it's a really big year for them. And the investigation, the results will come out tomorrow regarding Giovanni and Amanda Abington. So I think once that comes out tomorrow, they will draw a line under it and hopefully be able to move on.
It's not just Giovanni, though, is it? There were other professionals that were accused of bad behaviour. Let's just say that much.
Yeah.
So is it something that can be easily wiped clean, as you say?
I mean, like, obviously, you know, I don't condone anything that has been alleged to have happened, but I feel like there's been other shows, like Big Brother, for instance. A few years ago, they were embroiled in a massive racism row, and they recovered from that. So, and I feel as well now, Strictly Come Dancing, it's also like an integral part of British culture now. So many people. I mean, it's been around for 20
I wouldn't go that
years.
far.
Everyone knows who it is. And also, you have to remember as well, Strictly Come Dancing, the British version, through that, the Italian version was born. It also is now in America. America's Dancing with the Stars. So it's had a massive knock-on effect. It's hugely popular, and there's a really successful format to the show.
Paula?
Yeah, I disagree. I feel like it's had its day. The viewing figures peaked around 4 years ago, the average viewing figures, but they still did get a lot of viewing figures for the final. But I think all of this scandal has come far too close to the Hugh Edwards scandal. And the difference between this show and, say, Big Brother is this: we're paying for this. And obviously, you know, Hugh is going to get his pension. He even got a rise when he wasn't even working. And also, you know, Rachel Riley, that's been on the show, Amanda Addington, they both said they've got PTSD. You've got a lot of other people coming out of the woodwork to sue the BBC for personal injury claims and also for their mental health. It's rumoured that BBC are going to be paying up to about £1 million out. So I'm sure their contract's going to be very, very tight this season. And I just don't think the lineup is any good, to be honest with you. I mean, you've got the guy from Go Compare, the one that sings. How is he a celebrity? You've got Pete Wicks, that's been on every show going.
To be fair, everyone knows who he is, Paula.
Well, I don't. I just know him singing.
And also, can I say, every year people say that. They say, oh, we don't know who these celebrities are. But come by the end of their journey, they're really invested in them.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's a great platform as well for them to launch their career or to, you know, flourish on the show.
I mean, the comedian's visually impaired, and that's obviously very, very challenging. So I do wish him the best. But I'd like to see more right-wing people on the show, because I feel like a lot of people on the left are snowflakes. They're complaining about PTSD. They're complaining about grueling hours. I know, but they had, Anna's the only one that I know. And I feel like if BBC had more right-wing people, they're less likely to have people want to sue them afterwards. They'll just get on with the job.
Julianne, do you think it's a little bit awkward for celebrities, or celebrities as Stephen would say, taking part in this year's competition, this year's Strictly Come Dancing, amongst all of these allegations? Does it make things awkward for them that they're kind of wading in and taking part, despite all of these allegations?
I don't think so, because at the end of the day, they're there to, like I said, boost their career, earn money, and, you know, become a household name.
But does that make them look heartless amidst all these allegations?
But I think the show's going to go on no matter what, and no star is bigger than the show. It's the same with, like, a soap. If someone leaves, it still continues on, you know, that way. And I spoke to Shirley Ballas about this as well a few weeks ago at the Trick Awards, and she said the beauty about Strictly is it's so expensive now to go to the theatre. It's almost nearly £100 per ticket, whereas with Strictly you can sit at home on a Saturday night, you can watch it from the comfort of your sofa, you get to like immerse in the whole musical and theatre side of things, and it's just a really good feel-good show, I guess.
It's family fun as well, isn't it? I wouldn't like to see it go anywhere. I think it's very wholesome.
I've actually never watched the show. I've watched just some clips for this interview. No, because I'm not interested in ballroom dancing at all whatsoever, and I love the theatre.
Well, I don't think any of it is ballroom.
There's Latin and...
It's all sorts of stuff. I have to say, I'm
so
with you,
much
I
more.
Honestly, I don't think you could pay me to watch it, to be honest with you.
All my socks off watching that.
Yeah, but also you have to remember as well, think of the amount of marriages and babies who've been born from the show.
Well, a lot have been ruined from the show as well.
Like, that's really cute. That's really cute.
I know someone whose husband said to her, not that she has been invited on, but said, if you ever get asked onto Strictly, you are not doing it. I'm not allowing you to do it.
Really?
Because of all the
Strictly curse.
The Strictly curse.
Well, Joel Dommett's wife told me that as well. She says I've, like, banned him from doing the show.
Really?
Because, again, of the Strictly curse. So it is a bit controversial in that aspect. But, again, if you really trust your man, I'm sure you wouldn't mind.
Well, do you know what I think is strange? Pete Wicks is doing the show because Zara obviously said she had an awful time during the show, and it could affect her legal case as well, because she's saying how terrible it was, etc., etc. So BBC lawyers could say, well, if it was that terrible for you, how come you're excited for one of your best friends to do the show this year?
Yeah.
So that's quite strange.
That's what I mean about this year's contestants looking potentially heartless. I don't know what you call them in TV.
But then again, apparently Pete is in financial difficulty, so of course he's not going to turn down a show like that.
Well, he's on every reality show going, so he needs to manage his money better. God,
and also, it's only in the last few years that they've started to enlist reality stars. So I think,
last year was the first Love Island, I think.
Yeah, and I think 2-3 years before that with Jamie Lang, he was the first ever reality star. And for instance, my auntie had no idea who he even was, but by the end of the show, she totally loved him and was a big fan.
But isn't it scraping the barrel? I mean, that's what it feels like to me, that it's just scraping the barrel now. And sometimes shows can be really good, really popular, but you need to get out at the top.
Well, I just feel like, at some point they're going to need a new catalogue of celebrities, aren't they? They've already, and also it's a massive hit with the royals. So many of them come forward and they love it. And Princess Anne also, apparently she said she would love to take part. So
now
who knows?
I would love to see, and so would you, actually.
Yeah, I can't imagine
Don't knock that.
That's never
You'd
going to
watch
happen.
Princess Anne.
And also, can I ask, if they asked you to do the show, either of you, would you?
I'd definitely do it. So
you see, and would you?
No, I don't think I would.
Really?
But I don't. But I don't really like reality TV, and it would be so hypocritical of me to say.
I prefer documentaries to reality. Yeah.
I mean, it's just. Well, I mean, if you turn around and said, "Here's £250,000,000," I mean, don't get me wrong, I won't be.
He'd do it.
If £250,000 I'd
He's
do it.
got twinkle toes, and you like music, you'd be good.
I just sort of think it's not my. I don't watch it, and I don't watch any of that.
Because some people love dance, and if you don't, you're not going to enjoy all the intensive training
But
as
also,
well.
I'd love to do it just for the toning up factor, because so many women seem to develop amazing bums and everything
Or
from
injuries,
the show.
though.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about
Amazing buns, Paula?
Well, I wouldn't mind toning up a little bit, but I'd probably break my leg if I went on there.
I like an iced bun.
Yeah, so do I. What do you think of Strictly Come Dancing and trained dancers? Because Tash Gorey is part of the cast this year. I'm glad that you're both nodding, because this is a bit of a curveball. But she is a trained dancer. She's a fantastic dancer, and she's part of the cast this year. How do you feel about that? Because that's
Well, I don't think she should have been on the show, and I don't want to be shady or anything, but I mean, she was born with hearing problems. She was deaf until she was 5, and then she had an implant. So she has a large social media platform and talks a lot to the deaf community. So I feel like that's one of the reasons they put her on the show. Ordinarily, if she'd been a trained dancer and, didn't have any other issues, I don't think she would have been on the show.
Yeah, and it was the same, like Alicia Dixon was on it a few years ago, and I mean, she already was at a massive advantage. So I do think they need to maybe reassess that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's fair having, experienced dancers
It's not fair.
and then novice ones. So.
Wasn't there a West End trained dancer last year?
Yeah, there was. I can't think of his name. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think he made it to the final. So I do think they need to look into that slightly.
Well, I also think the visually impaired gentleman, the comedian, it's very difficult to judge, because obviously it's going to be more difficult for him, and I wish him all the best, but it's very difficult to judge if people have, different issues.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just find the whole thing just a bit stale for me. But then maybe I'm just an old curmudgeon, Paula.
No. Well, I'm old-fashioned as well. That's probably why I don't like it.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you
Hopefully
both.
we'll see you on it next year.
Well, you'd be tempted. Let us know what you think. It's a good discussion. It is good.
It is a good
Let us know
discussion.
what you think. gbnews.com/your say. Has Strictly had its day?
Well, £250,000 is what it cost to get me on.
I bet Paul Coit would do it for £250,000.
He'd do it for £2.50 with Paul Coit. I just think it's, you're not going to say no to a lot of money, but it would have to be a lot of money to persuade me to do anything. I'd rather be at home with the cat and the dog.
Ah.
Paul Coit, though, as you say, is going to be here with all your Olympic news in just a moment.
The latest GB News travel. Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Between Dundee and Fife, the A92 Tay Road Bridge is closed each way to high-sided vehicles because of strong winds. In Ceredigion, the A487 is closed in both directions, northeast of Aberystwyth for emergency repairs. The A1 in Cambridgeshire is closed in both directions between the A47 at Wansford and the A43 south at Stamford after an accident near RAF Wittering overnight. There are long delays as you divert. In Surrey, there are some cancelled trains at Woking because of a points failure. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking nearly half an hour in westbound queues approaching the M25 because of lane closures for roadworks. And in East Sussex, the A26 is closed in both directions between the A259 at Newhaven and South Hayton, where overnight roadworks have overrun. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Paul Coyte's here with all your Olympic news. Good morning.
Good morning. You know what? I'm going to put this on record. I'm loving the Olympics.
Good.
And I think the Olympics is more... I've heard people complaining about, not really watching the Olympics. I think everybody's watching the Olympics. I think it's more successful and more people are watching it, apart from one person that I might know that is watching it more than anybody else.
Why don't you like it? Why are you being a screw?
You do like it?
No, I just haven't thought about turning it on.
What about during the day? Because it's so much better than Homes Under the Hammer, isn't it?
When you get home today, pop it on.
You can't not Homes Under the Hammer. Lucy Alexander's on that.
OK, well, all right. Well, Dickinson's Real Deal. Let's say that. It's, you know... But anyway, it's been terrific. We're going on until Sunday. The track and field, which I know, Ellie, you enjoy more than anything else. And Matthew Hudson-Smith in the 400 metres yesterday. Again, the thing is, there's been so many gold medals which have been just taken from us by a whisker. Matthew Hudson-Smith yesterday in the 400 metres, hits the last 100. He's in front. There he is on the right-hand side, just beaten on the left there by Quincy Hall of the USA, who appeared from nowhere. And I'm watching this, I'm thinking, where did he get that energy from to all of a sudden bound for the last 30 metres and then get past Matt Hudson-Smith? Matthew was very unhappy about it. You could see as he crossed the line how disappointed he was. But it was really interesting because as he walked around the track, started high-fiving and speaking to people, you could see how his demeanour changed. And he should be... I don't know what to say. corny, but he should be proud.
He's an Olympic silver medalist. There aren't many of them in the world.
Yeah. And he's broken, again, the British record and the European record, and it's the fifth fastest time that's ever been run.
Yeah.
One lap around a track.
Should be very...
Although it was beaten by the fourth.
It would be nice to get... I can understand it. It'd be nice to get gold, but actually... he's still achieved an incredible amount. I always think, with silver medals, I always think of Akabousi. Yeah. I mean, the man carries it in his pocket all the time. It's permanently on him because he's so proud of what it symbolises, and good on him.
Absolutely. And there was Roger Black who did it, and he ran back in... when was that? That was Atlanta. 1996 in Atlanta. And it's an amazing silver medal. Chris has got gold from the World Championships, but it's something that, you're right, he always carries it with him, which is good, because if I had one, I'd probably lose it within about...
You'd probably have it around your neck constantly.
It's like that.
But that's why I love Chris Akabousi, partly. The man's just...
He is.
He's a legend.
Absolutely.
He really is. How's the Seine looking today? Clean?
Well, hopefully.
Let's hope
so they've got the women's marathon swim, which is actually going on as we speak. Started at 6:30 this morning. 10K swim in the Seine. So the things that they could get, there's possibly E. coli, which we know about. Now, I've never heard this phrase before. You've got to avoid the Seine cigars.
Oh, right. Yeah. OK.
Weeds. What do you give the eyes? Is that?
Oh,
swim with your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Weeds, swirling currents. It's not easy to swim in there, but that's going on at the moment.
Oh.
It cost a fortune to try and clean that.
They spent £1 billion on it.
£1 billion.
£1 billion pounds.
But
did it?
But the thing is, I think it's because of the rain, which has caused problems.
Because then you get the overflow.
Yeah, it's not like there's... but it's...
What I don't understand is, just before the men's swim, when they tested the water for 2 days prior and it wasn't clean.
Yeah.
And then on the third day, they tested the water and it was clean then, on the third day. And I was like...
Interesting.
And also pay me.
Also, when you get swimmers... face always in the water.
Yeah.
Interesting how many are just like this for the whole thing. You know what? I'll go a little bit slower, but I'm going to keep myself out there. What about the Keirin? Should we talk about the Keirin?
Oh, yes.
Your favourite sport.
OK, Emma Finucane. Emma Finucane is going to be the star of these games, hopefully, for us. She's the new Laura Kenny, and she... is a fantastic...
Don't put too much pressure on the situation.
I know, I hate it. I do it every time, and I'm trying not to. That's her in the middle. She's just 21 years old. She's already won a gold already with the team sprint.
21?
21.
She's cute.
Team sprint, she's already won gold. She goes in the Keirin today. Now, the Keirin, so I'll give you a little background on that. Japanese, started in Japan, 6 laps. Now, there he is. That's the fella on the gurney. It's the motorbike, but they call it the gurney. And I would... see, the thing is, I was watching him go round. This is when they were doing the prelims. You can see he looks down because he's looking at the speed. Now, it's 6 laps. First 3 laps, the gurney, the motorcycle goes round, starts at 30k, slowly goes faster, and then for the last 3 laps, he disappears. I'd wave away or something, or give it, but but he just goes off to the side.
You seize your moment.
Then they start racing, and so the final is tonight. And also we've got a great record in that when it comes to the men. Since 2008, either Chris Hoy or Jason Kenny has won it. So that's 4 on the bounce. Last woman was Victoria Pendleton back at London 2012. So we've got high hopes tonight for us.
High hopes and heartaches.
Exactly. Good luck, Emma.
There you go.
Behind you.
Paul, thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.
See you a bit later on.
I've got more for you now.
Good.
Yes.
Look forward to it. And we're going to take you through the papers in a couple of minutes with Andrew and Winston.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
It's a very difficult issue, this, right? As far as we know, the boxer with male chromosomes was born with female genitalia.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually quite simple. You know, sex in humans is binary and immutable because we are mammals. And there is a minority of people who have disorders of sexual development, and that can affect a person's reproductive organs. But these people are male or female. And yesterday, what we witnessed was basically just glorified male violence against women and girls. The difference is, I mean, that happens every day all over the world. And the difference is that in every other circumstance, we consider beating up women to be wrong, but it was deemed acceptable by those at the IOC because they're claiming that it's sport, but it's not. It's violence and it's wrong.
Peter, Lottie's right, isn't she, that we've been talking a lot recently about violence against women and girls, and regardless of whether this person is intersex or transgender, they have male chromosomes. That means they have a very, very distinct biological advantage that could actually be fatal to a female athlete competing against them.
Well, of course, sport does need to be fair, and we do need to examine this case very thoroughly. There are reports that the boxer, Iman Khalif, was born a biological woman. She is not transgender. She is not non-binary. She is not intersex. She may have elevated levels of testosterone, but that's entirely natural. It's beyond her control. It's the way she was born. And that is why the International Olympic Committee has said that she falls within the rules.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, time to go through the papers this morning, and we're joined today by the broadcaster and lawyer Andrew Eborn and social campaigner Winston Davis. Morning to you both, Andrew.
Morning. Yes.
Can we have a look at the Daily Mail and Robert Jenrick?
Yes, extraordinary language, isn't it? You would hope that people would know, being in the public eye, about the language that you use. And basically what he's turning around and saying is that people who shout Allah Akbar in public should be immediately arrested, is what he said. And the trouble is, what it means, it's used all the time in religion, is God is great in Arabic. That's what it means.
Yeah.
What he should have turned around and say, look, if you use intimidating behaviour or use inappropriate things, that's the offence, not shouting out a phrase which is used for religious purposes. So I think his optics, his things are totally wrong on this. He should have thought it through, because this is a predictable headline.
And just to be precise here, the word Allah, it means God. It's the same God. Muslims, Christians and Jewish people all believe in the same God. It's one God on a chronological different time. Jewish people first, Christians after, Muslims at the end. Everyone prays to the same God.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I can see what, I mean, it is associated with, I mean, terrorists sometimes have been known to yell it at the appropriate moment, haven't they? And that's why there is this sort of fear generated around it. But as you say, that's been hijacked by extremists.
Yeah. And lots of people use it for legitimate. And actually, the majority.
Mind you, is there an argument? Is there an argument to say, well, why would you be yelling it in public?
Oh no, but I get that. So make the offence if you're using something in an intimidatory way, or that sort of stuff, something which is insightful. The difficulty is, holding up this sort of headline, that's exactly shouting out "God is great," which effectively is what you're saying, is not an offence. The way that you use language, the way that you use behaviour, and so on and so forth is, and that should be the focus rather than what's clearly going to be an incendiary headline.
What do you want to talk about now?
I was going to go about Princess Beatrice.
Oh, we love that. Did you get your invite?
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, let's talk about Princess Beatrice. Well, it's her 36th birthday today.
Hurrah!
And, yeah, they were not allowed to put it out on the official channels because she's not an acting royal, she's not a working royal, but they said it's going to be shared privately. And that is the story they've got out for us.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Well, there you go. Well, that was very good. 36.
It's my brother-in-law's birthday today, and he's 37.
There you go. And I'm 39. So I don't laugh at that. I had a tough paper round. It's got to be good.
Very tough.
8th of the 8th is very lucky because obviously the Beijing Olympics, but around that sort of stuff, it's Octopus TV Day. That's my company. So working on that sort of basis. What I love about Beatrice, she was born at the Portland Hospital, which is the home of the greatest productions ever. Lots of the royal family were born there as well. She's also now, which I love this, got a stepson called Wolfie. There you go. Is that good?
Wolfie. Yeah.
That's what I was going to be called if I was a boy.
Were you?
Wolfie.
Fun fact, Wolfie.
You were going to be called
Costello.
But I wasn't a boy.
Wolfie Costello, WC. That would be unfortunate.
I was going to be called Helen. If I
Were you?
Helen Dixon.
Helen Dixon, HD and WC.
WC.
Oh, yes, WC.
WC. I'm glad you did. Flushed with success is what it would be.
8th of the 8th, 88.
It is 8th of the 8th, 88. You remember the Olympics? I was in Beijing at that time.
No, that was when she was born. 1988.
Oh, I see what you
8th
mean.
for the 8th,
Okay.
88.
Isn't that lucky?
Yes.
Do you think she's been lucky?
Well, she's married and happy and very rich, so why not?
That's it, she is.
Okay.
Now, horse milk ice cream, anyone?
Oh, I love it. Red rum and raisin, anyone. Exactly what they say. What they've done, this is a wonderful thing. They've worked out that horse milk is much better for you than cow's milk.
Yay.
I know. It's very good. If you want your health to be stable, this is what you want. Thank you. A bit of a nightmare for people, you're right. There's a whole load of puns.
Would you fancy a bit of that, Winston?
Nah, not for me. I don't drink cow's milk, let alone horse
Don't
milk.
you?
No,
What milk
no.
do you have?
Oat milk.
Oat milk?
Yeah,
But those little oats are so difficult to
Squeeze
milk.
out, well, they are.
The idea of sucking underneath a cow's tit is just...
Teats.
Thank you.
Sorry, apologies. Teat, sorry.
Thank you. And in other news...
That's what I meant. I meant teat.
That's
apologies.
Nutrients, however, they say it's similar to human milk in terms of the nutrients that you can get and so on and so forth, which is really powerful.
Yeah.
And they also say there's less fat, it's got better sort of health
well, there you
benefits.
go.
Well, let us
Very
know
healthy.
if you fancy it. gbnews.com/you'll say. Let's have a look at the weather now, shall we?
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to your GB News weather forecast for this morning, and it's a damp and humid start to your Thursday. We've got some heavy rain on the cards through the day today, but brighter signs as we go into Friday. Taking a look at the picture out there this morning, quite a grey, damp start across Wales, southwest England, and that rain spreads its way in across Northern Ireland and northern counties of England as well. As we go into the afternoon, some of that rain will turn quite heavy across these northern counties of England, Northern Ireland, southern Scotland. We could get the odd rumble of thunder. Largely dry towards the southeast though, some sunny breaks, but you can see how humid it is across the map. Temperatures of 21 to 24 degrees, feeling really quite uncomfortable out there with all that going on. Let's take a closer look then as we zoom across into Scotland. Through Thursday evening, still staying dry across the Northern Isles. As we come down into mainland Scotland, quite a lot of rain for the evening rush hour, so do take care if you're heading out and about. Moving southwards into northern England, some heavy pulses here denoted by the yellows and reds on the chart there. A lot of low cloud for Wales, outbreaks of rain and drizzle, similarly for the southwest of England as well. Somewhat drier further south and east though. Those temperatures staying on the warm side, and it stays warm and humid as we go through Thursday night. Further bits and pieces of rain to come, mainly out towards our western hills and coasts, but still some showers working their way eastwards. A lot of low cloud out there as well. Some clear skies towards the end of the night further north. Temperatures somewhat fresher here, but an uncomfortable night further south. 18 or 19 degrees really will feel uncomfortable first thing on Friday. Now, we get rid of that rain fairly early on across the southeast, some cloud to follow on behind. But actually, for England and Wales, a much brighter day to come on Friday. Much less humid, much more in the way of sunshine, feeling quite pleasant. And some sunny spells too further north, but a scattering of showers for Scotland, Northern Ireland and the far north of England. Top temperature, 25 degrees for the southeast, warmer still as we head towards the weekend. Bye-bye.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel. Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The A92 Tay Road Bridge is closed each way to high-sided vehicles because of strong winds. In Ceredigion, the A487 is closed each way off the A44 north-east of Aberystwyth for emergency repairs. On the M1 in Nottinghamshire, the outside lanes closed southbound where cars overturned between junctions 27 and 26 from Hucknall to Nottingham, causing queues. The A1 in Cambridge is closed each way between the A47 at Wansford and the A43 south of Stamford after an accident overnight. There are long delays as you divert. On the M4 in Berkshire, there's a lane closed westbound where a van's broken down just before junction 10 for Bracknell and Wokingham, causing delays. On the M25 in Surrey, there's a lane closed where a car's broken down on the anti-clockwise exit at junction 11 at Chertsey, with queues from junction 12 for the M3. And in East Sussex, the A26 is closed each way along New Road in Newhaven, where overnight roadworks have overrun. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Don't miss out on your chance to win a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. It's extra cash that could really make a difference to your coming year. You could find yourself on that holiday you've always wanted to take, buy that treat that always seemed out of reach, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could be yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Anti-racism protesters unite.
Thousands of counter-protesters take to the streets.
That's after last night saw the largest mobilisation of police in a generation as Britain braced for 100 anti-immigration protests.
In an unprecedented move, King Charles asked the government for daily updates on the demonstrations as tensions remain high.
Well, Stormont gears up as the Northern Ireland Assembly is recalled today. Now, that heaps pressure on Sir Keir Starmer to follow suit.
And as the airline EasyJet looks to recruit over 50s as cabin crew, we're asking, is it time that we normalised a career change later in life?
Hello, feather or leather? What do you think?
Feather or leather?
Yeah, that's what you say. Is either chicken or beef, feather or leather.
Oh, I see.
In the sport... That went well. Another...
I would have done the exits, were you?
Another British record and another silver medal and another American comes from nowhere as Matthew Hudson-Smith came second in the 400 metres. In the velodrome, silver and bronze in the men's and women's team pursuit. And our friend 51-year-old Andy McDonald performed admirably in the skateboarding against competitors more than half his age. If only there was an Olympic whisk drive.
It's turning more humid through Thursday, but with that comes some rain. I'll have all the latest for you very shortly.
Just gone 8 o'clock, I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. Feel as though you might have just made that one up.
What, the feather or leather?
Feather or leather.
Well, my
Never heard it before.
Sue was a stewardess for
Sue was a
British
stewardess?
Airways.
Well, the current Mrs. Coyd?
Yes, the current Mrs. Coyd. feather of leather. So that was it, the beef or the chicken. What do you like, the feather of leather?
Yeah, but you see, that shows...
Is it an in one?
That shows it was a while ago, though, because now you have to just say... you have to get your thing out,
yeah,
don't
of course
you?
you do.
I'll have a pot noodle and a bag of crisps.
And they go, OK, that'll be £28.53, please.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And would you like a drink with that? I can't afford it, I'm afraid.
I have to say, I don't know what I would think about older air cabin crew.
More glamorous in the day, I think.
Because when you... I mean, if you fly American...
Yeah.
All their cabin crew are of an older age.
Okay. Yeah.
And they are battle axes. They're really like, you sure you want another beer?
Right, yeah.
It's
like no-nonsense approach, yeah.
I've always found them really aggressive. I mean, I was younger when I was flying to America and doing that, but they were really aggressive.
But the thing I learned is that no matter when you get difficult passengers on planes, cabin crew will always get their own back, whether that person knows it or not.
Really?
Yeah. They'll never take any nonsense.
Oh,
so they'll always be, you always get the mouthy one, but always something will be, OK, we've got your number. I couldn't exactly tell you exactly how they get their own back, but they would always...
Oh, good on them. I'm quite pleased about that, then.
Yeah. They wouldn't take any nonsense. And it's like, well, actually, I'm here for your safety. I'm here for your safety.
Yeah, that's the thing. We think of them as waitresses, don't they?
Exactly.
And they're not. They're there for safety.
That's not the case. That's absolutely not the case.
Well, I know somebody who's done just this. She's in her 50s. She was running a bridal shop, and then she used to be an air hostess or cabin crew. So she's gone back to cabin crew. She enjoyed it so much.
Yeah,
she liked the stress of running a shop.
But that's it. It's a great...
That's quite nice.
The things you've got to be... See, what do you like when it comes to packing for holidays?
I'm useless.
And that's it. And you've got to pack light, and you're back, and then they have things where they have back-to-backs where you go to New York, then you'd be back for a day, and then you're back away again. It's not an easy life.
Although packing.
I think I'd make a great pilot, because I think I'd look good with the epaulets. And the hat at a jaunty angle, just walking along with the... That's what I'd like to do.
Yeah, you'd look good, yeah.
You think so?
Do you get a choice for dinner, then, when you're at home?
Yeah, it's always feather leather. And also, which is nice, is that, I'm not being funny, but she does bring a trolley round for a cup of tea afterwards, which is nice.
And then a selection of aftershaves.
Exactly. It cost me a fortune every single night. That's why I always smelled so strange.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it. All right, nice to have a bit of jollity, because the news is... actually, I was going to say grim. It turned out not to be so grim last night. I mean, there was real concerns about what was going to happen. In the end, thousands of anti-racism protesters took to the streets in a show of solidarity against anti-immigration groups, and it was pretty much peaceful.
It was, yes. Police forces had braced for more than 100 demonstrations, prompting many businesses to close early over fears of violence.
Well, meanwhile, the King has apparently asked for daily updates about the ongoing disorder.
Well, GB News South East England reporter Ray Addison joins us live now from Croydon. And what was the scene like in Croydon last night, Ray?
Well, we understand there was around 15 arrests at demonstrations in London last night, 10 of those taking place right here in Croydon. Now, this is North End. I'll just move out of the way so you can see. This is North End. This is the main high street here in Croydon. This is the scene of the focus of the demonstration. Police saying around 50 young people gathering here. And they're saying it wasn't members of the far right. It wasn't even counter-protesters, but people they say were intent on causing pure antisocial behaviour. Although I have spoken to some locals and they're saying that actually it was a demonstration against the EDL. Now that is obviously not the official line that we're hearing from the Met Police, but police are saying that the young people that gathered here were pushing each other around, they were aggravating people around them, they were picking up objects, throwing them down the road, bottles were thrown at the police, fireworks were set off in the direction of the police as well. And obviously Met Police responded. They were fully equipped. They had their protective gear, their riot shields, their helmets as well. They started forcing that group into ever smaller areas to try and contain them. They were assisted in that by the British Transport Police. And as I said, 10 arrests were made in total last night, 4 arrests on suspicion of violent disorder, 1 for assaulting an emergency worker, 1 for going equipped for arson, and also breaching a Section 35 dispersal order that was in place at the time. Now, thankfully, we understand that there weren't any serious injuries at that time. When I arrived here, I got here around about 5:15 this morning. There was a small group of young men still here. They were listening to music, drinking alcohol early in the morning. I could smell cannabis as well, and that group still remains. And speaking to locals, they're telling me that these people are not normally around here at this time, and so one wonders whether there's a few stragglers left over. Now, there's not any serious trouble here at the moment, thankfully. However, there is a small group of people here at this time that locals say are not normally around at this time in the morning. Now, Sir Mark Rowley has spoken this morning. He says pretty happy with how the policing in London went last night. He's saying that the show of force that his officers put on here, and obviously officers wider around the country too, was effective, and it put people off from demonstrating. They've done a number of dawn raids, we understand, as well, not related to last night's demonstrations, but to other demonstrations, the demonstrations in Whitehall and the like, and they will continue. So the number of arrests from last night, that 10 figure, could rise, and we'll keep you updated on that throughout the day.
OK, thank you very much, Ray Addison, there for us in Croydon.
Well, the Northern Ireland Assembly has been recalled to debate the protests following days of unrest there.
Well, it's putting increasing pressure on Sir Keir Starmer to bring Westminster Parliament together, with some saying that Cobra meetings simply aren't enough given the level of disorder.
Well, our Northern Ireland reporter, Doogie Beattie, is at Stormont for us now. So what are they hoping they can achieve by recalling Stormont, Doogie?
Well, basically nothing. I mean, they have set aside an agenda here to condemn the violence. I think everyone condemns the violence. They are saying about their support for the PSNI. Everyone supports the PSNI and what they're doing here. And then they are looking at the First and Deputy First Minister to update the Racial Equality Bill. All of that is very good and welcomed by everyone, but it's not addressing the problems, the underlying problem that is here, and that is of undocumented immigrants going into these working class areas and very much changing those working class areas. Now, many in the political classes here behind don't know how to deal with this, because we have been used to orange and green politics in Northern Ireland for so many years. In fact, this House is very much divided by that. And what we have seen over the last few years is problems in immigration in the Republic of Ireland, and working classes there started that about 2 years ago, but that's now spreading to places like Kerry and Tipperary. And at the weekend, we saw tricolours flying alongside Union Jacks as those working classes came up to give their support to their counterparts in Northern Ireland. Now, there's been a lot of false information on social media in and around the Police Service of Northern Ireland taking part with the Garda Síochána in the Republic, and there's been suggestions that the Garda Síochána will be on the streets in Northern Ireland. That's totally untrue. In fact, last night the PSNI have cancelled leave and rest days on their officers here, and said that they will be looking for support from other officers across the UK. And those officers will not be included in day-to-day policing, but they will be here to support the riot squads that are going into those areas. Now, these areas in South Belfast, the trouble there has actually now spread into West Belfast. On Tuesday night we saw a shop attack there in the Falls Road, which is a nationalist area, and a couple of arrests being made. So unless these politicians today actually stand up and look at the problem that is there, they will achieve nothing. And I will be very interested today to see how many of these political parties call for a point of interest, because a lot of these parties are backed by property companies, and some of the MLAs here have properties that are in those socially deprived areas and are rented out. So it'll be interesting to see how many claim that interest when they get to their feet.
Yeah, absolutely. Doogie, thank you.
Well, let's speak now to GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White, who joins us now. Good to see you this morning, Mark. And what's your assessment of what we saw last night?
Well, thankfully, there was no serious damage or disorder, which has absolutely got to be welcomed. But if we're honest, the reason for that is the fact that the planned protests, which have been characterised, of course, by the government, by the police and others as far right, well, these protests did not take place in any significant numbers. In a few locations, in Blackpool, for instance, a handful of protesters turned out, vastly outnumbered by these counter-protest groups. But clearly, if they had turned out in any significant numbers, we would have been reporting on a very different situation this morning. And I think it's interesting to hear the comments from the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, saying that it was thanks to the show of force by the police. And frankly, he says, the show of unity from communities that helped ensure there was no disorder. Now, the slight issue I have with that is that if you speak to police officers on the front line, they will tell you that often the input of these anti-racism protesters that turn out to counter other protests is often never helpful and actually presents a lot of challenges for the police, because if both sides show up, that's both sides that the police have to manage, and it also stokes the tensions as both sides are facing off against each other. So I'm not sure what Mark Rowley is asking for in the days and weeks ahead. Does he want communities to come out in force? Because if those communities come out in force, and yes, of course, many in the community are right-thinking people concerned about their area, but there are, and let's be honest about this, troublemakers within those marches as well. We saw massed up youths in a number of locations. So if they had an enemy, a common enemy to actually come up against, the situation would have been very different, I think. So let's see what happens in the days and weeks ahead here. We've had Dame Diana Johnson, the policing minister, this morning saying there is intelligence of other protests planned in the days ahead.
I mean, let's be real about this. When you look at the scale of the operation that the police had out last night, Mark, I mean, let's say, thankfully, not necessary as it turns out, but the police clearly can't keep functioning on this level for very long.
No, the police can't keep functioning on this level. And as I say, I just wonder about the messaging that's coming out here, actively praising communities for playing their part in, quote, show of unity to try to ensure that these protest groups turn out. I mean, are they now encouraging communities to come out and show this sort of show of unity every time? Because going forward, I think that potentially could be troublesome.
Thank you very much.
It's 8:15. Let's have a look at some of the other stories heading into the newsroom this morning.
Judges at the Supreme Court have ruled that the former ISIS bride, Shamima Begum, cannot appeal to keep her British citizenship. Back in 2015, Shamima Begum travelled to the Islamic State from her home in East London before marrying an ISIS fighter. Begum is now planning to take her case to the European Court of Human Rights.
2 people have been arrested in Vienna after police discovered a plan in the works to target Taylor Swift's concerts in the Austrian capital this weekend. All 3 sold-out shows have now been cancelled, but some fans have already made the journey, of course, to Vienna.
And Princess Beatrice celebrates her 36th birthday today. The late Queen's granddaughter is likely to spend the day with family and friends away from the spotlight.
Can I throw something totally random out there?
I'm scared. What?
No, don't be scared, don't be scared. I often see the Telegraph, we have all the papers here, but the Telegraph, and you may be familiar with the columnist, I'm folding this over, you won't be able to see because it's too small a picture, but Michael Deacon, who regularly writes and all the rest of it. And I keep seeing his picture, there he is, this fella here, and I keep seeing his picture, and every time I see it, I think he looks like John Deacon, who was the bassist in Queen. The legendary John Deacon.
Could that be his son?
And I think it might be his son.
Well, let me Google. What's his name?
No, it doesn't come up.
Oh, have you already tried this?
It doesn't come up. So, yeah.
Maybe we should ask him.
Look, John Deacon is a very private man. And so I wonder if... So, I mean, but you don't... If you don't have to look like John Deacon. I'm a huge Queen fan.
It literally says Michael Deacon is the son of John Deacon.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, that's literally the first result on Google. Yeah.
Oh, right.
I don't know what you were Googling. But that's that mystery solved, so... I'm glad I'm here to help you out.
Oh, God,
It's literally the first
it's
result.
like helping your granddad, isn't it?
Anyway, so...
All right, well, I was right, then.
Well, you are correct, yes.
I'm correct.
You
so
had the right idea.
I'm taking that as a win. I'm taking that as a win.
Yeah.
But as a huge Queen fan, and someone I've got the pleasure of knowing Brian May a little bit, and saw John at what was his last concert at the tribute concert back in '92. So I just think, wow, I just think that's amazing. That's been the son of a legend like that.
Well, we can ask him. We should have a chat with him.
We should get him on. Come on, Michael.
Well, now that you've made the connection...
No, I've established that.
There's no stopping you.
Oh.
Get it in the diary.
Right, well, you've just ruined my entire thing there by that. I did no idea.
Oh, I'm glad I'm here to help. Yeah, I'm literally first line.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, should we take a look at the weather? Whilst you settle your nerves a little bit.
Yeah, if you want.
Here it is.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to your GB News weather forecast for this morning, and it's a damp and humid start to your Thursday. We've got some heavy rain on the cards through the day today, but brighter signs as we go into Friday. Taking a look at the picture out there this morning, quite a grey, damp start across Wales, southwest England, and that rain spreads its way in across Northern Ireland and northern counties of England as well. As we go into the afternoon, some of that rain will turn quite heavy across these northern counties of England, Northern Ireland, southern Scotland. We could get the odd rumble of thunder. Largely dry towards the southeast though, some sunny breaks, but you can see how humid it is across the map. Temperatures of 21 to 24 degrees, feeling really quite uncomfortable out there with all that going on. Let's take a closer look then as we zoom across into Scotland. Through Thursday evening, still staying dry across the Northern Isles. As we come down into mainland Scotland, quite a lot of rain for the evening rush hour, so do take care if you're heading out and about. Moving southwards into northern England, some heavy pulses here denoted by the yellows and reds on the chart there. A lot of low cloud for Wales, outbreaks of rain and drizzle, similarly for the southwest of England as well. Somewhat drier further south and east though. Those temperatures staying on the warm side, and it stays warm and humid as we go through Thursday night. Further bits and pieces of rain to come, mainly out towards our western hills and coasts, but still some showers working their way eastwards. A lot of low cloud out there as well. Some clear skies towards the end of the night further north. Temperatures somewhat fresher here, but an uncomfortable night further south, 18 or 19 degrees. Really will feel uncomfortable first thing on Friday. Now, we get rid of that rain fairly early on across the southeast, some cloud to follow on behind. But actually, for England and Wales, a much brighter day to come on Friday. Much less humid, much more in the way of sunshine, feeling quite pleasant. And some sunny spells too further north, but a scattering of showers for Scotland, Northern Ireland and the far north of England. Top temperature, 25 degrees for the southeast, warmer still as we head towards the weekend. Bye-bye.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
She's made me look really stupid there.
You're actually very good at tech as well.
Oh,
so
look at that.
You've let yourself down. What?
Well, I just noticed.
What?
It's your lipstick on the back of my running order.
He smashed that against my face in the break, and you can see my foundation marks.
Well, it's just
did it by force.
You were a bit glossy.
Oh, was I?
Yeah.
Like it glossy.
Anyway, look, imagine having £30,000 extra to buy lip gloss.
It's a lot of lip gloss.
Yeah. You could have that in your bank this year if you take part in our latest Great British giveaway.
Yeah, it's our biggest cash prize of the year so far, didn't you know?
I did.
And here's how you could be in it to win it.
Don't miss out on your chance to win a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. It's extra cash that could really make a difference to your coming year. You could find yourself on that holiday you've always wanted to take, buy that treat that always seemed out of reach, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could be yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Best of luck.
Now, is it ever too late to switch careers? Let's hope not. We're debating that next.
Where are you off to?
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
King Charles has launched his own aftershave, costing, wait for it, an eye-watering 135 quid for a 100 millilitre bottle, promising buyers that they can smell just like the gardens of his Highgrove country pile. Now, this is something that Meghan Markle would do, surely not the King. Is this a case of King Charles selling out, watering down the brand just like Meghan? Well, join me now to discuss this is the royal broadcaster Helena Chard. Helena, welcome to the show.
Martin,
often on this
hi.
show we've had a pop at Meghan Markle, the Sussexers, for selling out, for flogging strawberry jam, and now the King is flogging Pong. Is this really the right royal thing to do?
Do you know what? So the joy of luxury Highgrove splash, you know, at the end of the day, Highgrove is such a special place, and the Highgrove shop sells amazing things on there. And as we know, the profit actually goes towards charity. So it's the King's Foundation, which was formed in 1986. Profits go towards educational and training, and it's all to do with this sort of sustainable world. But not to forget as well the charitable aspect and the whole ethos of the King's Foundation, and that's so important. This is not just something that's going up on the website and just being sold purely to go into someone's pocket. So I think, you know, all in all, I think everyone should have a look at the Highgrove website and see what's on for sale. I mean, there are lots of really lovely, I think pretty fairly priced products, and even more so, go and see the gardens. You know, as we know, King Charles is a keen environmentalist, and the gardens are fabulous.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. Are you comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister?
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to breakfast. Now, the airline EasyJet is launching a new cabin crew recruitment drive aimed at people over the age of 50.
What a disgrace. People at my age.
I think it's quite a nice idea.
Yeah, why not? Like, it comes as research shows 3 in 4 people believe 50 is as good a time as any to make a career change. You try to tell me something.
Well, we're asking this morning, is it ever too late to change your career? We're joined now by Head of Retirement Policy.
No, Director of Public Policy.
Oh, Director of Public Policy. We've had an upgrade, yes. At AJ Bell, Tom Shelby, and Chair of Women Against State Pension Inequality, Angela Madden. Good to see you both this morning. Tom, what do you make of it? Is it ever too late to have a career change?
No, it's not. So for some people, it'll be
challenging to change careers as you get older. Some people slow down, some people have physical health issues, but if you're in good health, certainly you talk about the story there in your 50s, then there's absolutely no reason whatsoever why people can't retrain, do something else. And in fact, it's really common for people to work into retirement now, sometimes part-time to supplement your retirement income. So loads and loads of reasons why it can be a good and beneficial thing for people.
What do you reckon, Angela? Do you fancy being a trolley dolly?
Well, I would have liked to have had the opportunity in my 50s to do something like that.
But do you think it's necessarily a sort of good career idea to think, actually, I'll have several careers over my lifetime?
Well, I do think it's necessary, yes, especially for people who choose to start their careers in manual work. If you imagine a roofer, for example, you know, in his 40s, perhaps he's fine climbing up roof ladders, carrying a, you know, hod full of roof tiles. But as you get older, you do have strength issues, you know, especially perhaps upper body strength issues. And you perhaps need something different because you're going to have to work until you're nearly 70 anyway. So you've still got 20 years left, really.
I mean, Tom, it's a good point, isn't it? We're all living longer. You might not want to do what you wanted to do at 20 when you're 50, 60 years old.
Yeah, it's one of the really big challenges, actually, when it comes to preparing for retirement, is that there'll be some people who have, you know, reasonably simple jobs that don't require a lot of physical effort as they get older, and so actually switching careers can be really easy for those type of people. You've got a desk-based job, for example, but if you're a labourer, if you work on a building site all your life, then you're not going to be able to do that into your 60s, your 70s, your 80s. You might have physical issues that stop you from doing that. It might just be too difficult for you to do that day to day. So it's a good option for some people, but it's not something that everyone can do. Absolutely.
I mean, do you think, Angela, we think enough about retirement? I know obviously you're focused a lot on your WASPy work, but for the general population now, and even for anyone sort of under 50, are we thinking enough about retirement, how it's going to affect us, and how we plan for it?
Well, all the statistics say no, and of course we relied too much on the state pension, which was changed without notice for us, and they'll change it again. And when you think about it, I mean, minimum wage now, living wage as they call it, is what, about 21,000 a year? Top pension is about 11,000 a year. So that is not enough, and it will never be enough to live on. So people really should start financial planning very young. But of course, people on those living wage jobs struggle to make ends meet as well. So saving for a pension is probably not top of their wish list when they're in their 20s. But really, that's where we have to start if we're going to have a reasonable retirement.
And Tom, a secondary career could be a really good way to supplement your pension.
It can be a necessary thing for some people, actually, as well. If you think of people, particularly in their kind of 40s, late 50s, so those will be people who perhaps have missed out on defined benefit pensions, which were the really generous pensions that existed across most of the country historically, now mainly exist in the private sector. We've had automatic enrolment reforms introduced, which aim to give everyone a bit of pension. But actually, if you've not started saving until your 40s or your 50s, then it's not too late to save something, but it's going to be difficult for you to build up a pension that's going to sustain your lifestyle in retirement. So you can save as much as you can afford to in that period of time, but for lots of people, having to work at least part-time in retirement is going to be a reality. For some people, that'll be a good thing, but for some people, that'll clearly be quite a difficult thing to adjust to.
Yeah, it will be. Look, really good to talk to you both this morning. Tom, Angela, thank you very much indeed.
And do let us know what you think. Would you consider a career change in your 50s and your 60s? Do let us know, gbnews.com/yoursay.
If it helps you to work a little bit longer and, you know, you're wanting that money to come in, either just to put in the bank or put away for in your pension or whatever it is, and it's an easier way. So I think that's a big thing. You can see a society where there are a lot of...
Two careers.
Two careers. You do your sort of manual labouring type job, and then you try to transition to something which is a bit more gentle as you get older.
Yeah. Maybe it invigorates you as well. You could go after your passion. Perhaps.
Yeah. Well, I get what you mean with that sort of thing, but it's like being an author or something, isn't it? But,
Yeah.
Which is very difficult to make any money out of.
Don't know, it could be a passion to be cabin crew.
Well, it could be. Could be.
Who knows? Let us know what you think.
My friend's 82 and still working.
Ah.
Tell her she needs to stop.
What's she doing?
She works in Parliament. Well, actually, though, she's coming out, but she's not going to stop entirely.
She'll be one of those, doesn't ever want to stop working.
No. Crackers. Love you, Sybil. Right, Paul Coyte's got all your sport in just a couple of minutes.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The A92 Tay Road Bridge is closed to high-sided vehicles because of strong winds. In Ceredigion, the A487 is closed E12 for the A44 northeast of Aberystwyth for emergency repairs. On the M1 in Nottinghamshire, 2 out of 4 lanes are closed southbound where a car's overturned between junctions 27 and 26 near Nottingham, taking roughly half an hour in the queues. Trains at Walsall have been stopped because of a trespass. The M42 from Warwickshire into Staffordshire is partly blocked northbound by an accident just before junction 10 at Tamworth, with queues from junction 9 at Curdworth. The A1 in Cambridgeshire is closed each way between the A47 at Wansford and the A43 south of Stamford after an accident overnight, with long delays towards the closure and as you divert. And on the M32 heading south into Bristol, the inside lane is closed where a car caught fire between junctions 1 and 2 from Hambrook to Eastville, taking nearly half an hour in the queues. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
She could have saved Storm. You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Time for the Olympic news this morning. Our very own Olympic broadcaster, Paul Coyte, is here. Good morning.
Thank you very much.
Have we got a medal table? Because I haven't seen it this morning. I wondered where we were.
Well, yes, we have.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
Where are we? I can't focus.
Look at that.
Still in 5th.
We're still in 5th.
Oh, that's good.
And you know what? I've worked out my own thing to go along with the medal table. And that is, I was having a look earlier to see how many athletes there are in each team to go along with how many medals are won.
Yeah.
So therefore, you know, well, let's have a look. So USA have more athletes. They're at the top of the medals table. They have more athletes than anybody else. Do you know how many do you think they have?
They've got like 400 or something silly.
594 athletes.
There you go, 600.
That's why when they had the opening ceremony, you know, they have the little boats for the smaller teams, and they had like the QE2.
And a kayak.
Exactly, a kayak.
It's solo.
One person on his own waving. There we go, going past the kayak. Now, France, they have... Oh, no, let's do China. So China are second. They've got 388 athletes. France have... Oh, no, Australia next. I should do this.
Keep trying to skip to France.
I know. 460 Australia have. The French have 572 athletes, and Great Britain has, what do you think?
292.
Stephen?
I was going to say 180.
It's not a darts thing. This is purely
108.
108, 327. So if we look at the medals table,
So we're basically winning.
It basically means we are top of the medal table. NBC in America.
The ratio is very good.
That's it, the ratio. With the NBC in America, what they were doing last week, and I mentioned this earlier in the week as well, is that they changed. Usually the medal table goes by gold, so the most golds you've won. But they turned it on its head because at that point they hadn't won the most golds, so it was most medals. So it's, hey, USA are top, but they will always have them top, whatever happens. But at the moment, the USA are.
All right.
But there we are. But we do it just proves how well we're actually doing.
Oh, that's good to know, actually.
Matt Hudson-Smith yesterday
what a shame.
added another silver, but it's another one of those close calls. We've had so many close calls in these Olympics. We had it yesterday, or day before, in the 1,500 metres.
Close, but no sen cigar.
Exactly, the only cigar in the sen, that's right. Adam Peaty was 0.02 seconds away from winning gold. You've got Matt Richards in the swimming, was also the same amount. Same thing with Ben Proud, 0.05. The women's cockless fours was a tenth of a second. Amber Rutter, who was the shooter, you know, she was doing the skeet shooting. She lost her gold medal, even though she'd actually hit. So there probably should have been a lot more golds, but very, very close. But I think we've had a... We've done very well so far.
Yeah, I think so.
And do you see that video of Fred Siriax speaking to his daughter? She just missed out on an Olympic medal.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really good advice. It was the last thing I watched before I went to bed last night. And he said, it's sport. She was crying.
Oh, sorry.
He was cuddling her and he said, look, it's sport. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And you did brilliantly yesterday.
But you know what, Ellie?
Don't worry about it. And she said, yeah, it doesn't take away from my year. It doesn't take away.
See, the thing is, though, I'm always... I look at that and I think, well, here's Fred. He's on TV, knows how it works. The camera's there. I know it's his daughter. I don't want to be a cynic, but do you know what I mean?
I agree.
You would think about it. If it was my daughter there and there's a camera, you wouldn't just forget the camera.
You wouldn't say that to Ruby anyway. I think.
Well, what I'd do is I'd be cuddling and I'd look at the camera. I know how to look after my daughter. You know, so everything's good. But it was, there was a bit of that going on.
As soon as you got her in the car, you'd be like, why did you do that?
Not good enough. What have I paid for all this training for? But the thing is, she did do very, very well. And I don't want to be cynical, but in those situations, you know, the Keirin is tonight, by the way.
Yeah.
Emma Finucane, who hopefully will win the Keirin, which is the one with the motorcycle that we mentioned earlier, which is called the Gurney. 6 laps. Brakeless, fixed-gear bicycles.
Told you.
You were absolutely right. How do you stop them, then?
You have to just slow down.
So you know more about bikes than I do. When you pedal, you've just got to keep... So when you slow down, the pedal's still going. You can't just stop and the train...
No, you can't just stop, no. You've got to physically slow... And you can't just take your feet off the pedals, because then the pedals will be going like the clappers. So you've just got to slow down the ride.
Right.
Until you...
So that's why you can't just pretty much stop and then... Right, OK.
Well, they do the 6 laps. You've got to keep going for another 25 to slow down.
I know,
it's hard work.
Well, that's the thing. They're going so fast, how they slow it down. We've got a very good record with the Keirin. In the men's, Chris Hoyer's won twice. Jason Kenny's won twice. But this is the women's one. Last woman to win was Victoria Pendleton, 2012. Speed climbing is going on today.
Is that the boulder?
There's boulder and there's lead.
Yeah.
And there's the speed, 49 feet high.
It's a lot, right?
You know what? These are things I would never have a clue about. But now I find myself obsessed with these sports. 49 feet high. The quickest American did it in 4 seconds. That's the boulder. That's your boulder, you see? Because you can see the little boulder sticking out. That's your boulder.
Random.
Did it in 50 feet in 4 seconds.
It's like,
how did he do that?
It's like Spider-Man.
It is, but faster. It's like Spider-Man, but faster.
Yeah.
It really is incredible. Katrina Johnson-Thompson goes, by the way, in the heptathlon. That
I think she's great.
KJT, so we wish her well as well.
Yeah, wish her best of luck, along with Emma.
She has
been. A few, hasn't she?
Yeah, she has been. She has been going for a while.
How's the Seine looking?
Seine is looking OK.
Insane.
10 kilometres of water swimming in the Seine, and that's going on the women's marathon at the moment. It's down to like 3 seconds between them. It's a long swim. They started
3
at 6
seconds between them.
3 seconds between them, and it started at 6:30 this morning. And
They're still going.
That's a tough race. That's a tough race. But there's good news, and that is Carlos Yulo. Now, did you see Carlos Yulo in the gymnastics? I think we got a picture of Carlos, so you can see Carlos. I hope we can see Carlos. Carlos was magnificent. But Carlos Yulo is the first medalist or first gold medalist that the Philippines has ever had.
Oh.
All right.
And loads of things have been thrown at him as rewards. And I've got a list of some of the things that he's been given.
By whom?
By whom? Firstly...
By adoring fans.
Well, by everybody. Firstly, $173,000 has been given to him by the government.
Really?
As a reward. $103,700 from the House of Representatives in the Philippines.
Really?
This is where it starts getting interesting. $553,345 three-bedroom condo has been given to him as a gift. Free colonoscopies and gastroenterology consultations for the rest of his life.
Well,
how about
lovely.
that? Lifetime supply of free buffets, ramen and chicken.
Oh, yeah.
Various brand ambassador opportunities and a lifetime supply. This is the one he's really going to want, and this is why you would want to enter the Olympics.
Yeah.
A lifetime supply, Ellie, of phone cases.
Yeah, I'd be up for that.
How about
You
that?
know how I feel about a phone case.
I know you
I've
do.
got some breaking news for you in the 10K swim in the Seine.
Australian?
Netherlands have won gold.
Oh, really?
UK came 20th, well, GB came 20th.
Oh, dear. OK.
Not so good.
Never mind.
It's the taking part.
Taking part that counts. I know. But medals always good.
Yep, exactly. So look out for Emma Finucane tonight in the Kieran. That's my big tip for gold.
If she gets gold, she might get a lifetime of colonoscopies.
Who knows?
And phone cases. And chicken and ramen.
Well, they all come together, don't they? They always do.
He's done all right, though, financially, hasn't he?
Oh, he has done very well.
£500,000 house, or dollar house.
Yeah.
And then 173 and 100... He's the best part of $1 million.
And it will go up like that. I mean, if that's the thing. If the Olympics makes you, and especially if your country has never won a gold medal, I always
You're
feel
a national hero.
The first one that wins, it's like the first Brit that wins a medal is everywhere. You don't want to be one of those that sort of wins one in the middle and gets forgotten. So
I
don't
think
want
it's always good.
I don't want to
It's never
forget.
a bad time to win a medal.
Because there's the work that goes into it for those every 4 years, and then nothing, and then we talk about them. But I'm going to talk about skeet shooting, by the way, for the rest of the next 4 years.
Excellent.
So be ready for that.
I'm prepared.
Thank you, Paul Coy.
Thank you very much indeed. Winston Davis and Andrew Eborn are going to take us through the papers in a couple of minutes.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight. Every night from 11 p.m.
Bad news for liberal mothers who want to score virtue points by transitioning their kids, Lewis.
You know, this
Tell us what it is.
Is a California dad is granted full custody of 4-year-old son after boy's mom tried to raise the child non-binary.
It's almost like cult-like behaviour. You've got the mother transitioning and then the transitioning the son as well. It's interesting that, you know, it's almost like a religion. You get, you know, if you're a Christian, your kids are probably going to be Christian. If you're, you know, Hindu, your kids are probably going to be Hindu. And if you're transgender, your kids are probably going to be transgender.
There's absolutely a causation there. We see plenty of times in videos. This is exactly it. And also we see the children of celebrities and people in particularly sort of liberal environments. It doesn't happen in some village in Indonesia or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's no such thing as a trans child. There's no such thing as non-binary. What there is are people with mental health issues and parents who want a virtual signal and also want to brainwash their children. This is an egregious example of that, where she was basically taking him to Disneyland, but he couldn't get on a ride unless he wore princess shoes. I mean, really evil, horrible stuff. You know, forced to wear a dress on his birthday. Just really nasty stuff. Now, here's the thing. You talk about the court going to him. No, that's not what happened. He took 800 pages of documentary evidence. He took 8 hours of police body camera footage showing this mental behaviour from the mother. And guess what? The courts ruled that the mum got him. They ruled against him. The only reason that he got custody of his child is because, thank God, a child protective services officer randomly got involved, looked into it themselves, and that's how he eventually got custody of the child.
Okay,
so the courts in America are utterly captured.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Let's have a look at some of the newspapers for you this morning. The Times leads with thousands taking to the streets to confront anti-immigration protesters.
The Telegraph reports Britain shuts up shop over riots threat as the nation anticipated 100 protests last night.
Metro accuses the Russian President Vladimir Putin of stoking the riots by infiltrating online chat groups.
And The Sun leads with nailed and jailed as more than 100 rioters are charged and over 400 are arrested.
The Mail says last night was a win for anti-hate marchers who they say faced down the thugs.
Well, joining us now to go through the papers is broadcaster and lawyer Andrew Eborn and social campaigner Winston Davis. Good to see you both this morning.
See you.
Winston, tell us about this dark tourism in Ukraine.
So after Russia had invaded Ukraine, there's a town called Bucha where tourists are now going to view what happened there, and to see the bombs and the destruction of vehicles. I mean, it's quite a macabre industry. They call it dark tourism.
It's very odd.
But it's worth...
Why would you want to do that?
Well, people go there because they're interested to see what happens with their own eyes and actually see what the destruction of it. It's worth 25 billion worldwide, so people have obviously got an interest in it. But the actual people living there, I'm not saying, well, do you know what, we're not, rather than getting rid of tourists, they actually welcome them to see actually what happened and to share it and to highlight it. And actually, it's also then bringing some revenue money back into the area. So as, you know, as we...
It's weird, because we look at it and go, oh, God, what an awful thing to do. But if actually the people there want it to happen...
Absolutely. And think about history. History is ugly, and what we need to do is learn the lessons from history so it doesn't happen again. I visited Auschwitz. And absolutely horrifying. I went there straight after seeing Schindler's List, where I was in tears at the end when they make the whole thing. So I think you're right. If it's used on that basis, rather than gruesome selfies, which is the headline, I think you're absolutely right. It could serve some good.
Yeah, when you think about it, I mean, there's nowhere more horrific to go than Auschwitz.
No, well, absolutely appalling.
In that sense.
Harrowing.
Oh, God, I can't.
But it's important you go, isn't it? Because you do learn lessons from the past and understand that human beings are capable of that evil.
Absolutely. So make sure it never happens again. You're so right.
I mean, and also, just 2 years ago, there was the Bucha massacre. So over 400 people were civilians, were just shot dead. Some of them with their hands bound, and you know, and to see that literally 2 years ago, you know, we're in here and we're complaining about, you know, upset about what's going on in our country, but literally, you know, hundreds of citizens getting murdered.
Yeah. And it's when you personify that, we get numbed with statistics, don't we? The 38,000 slaughtered, that sort of stuff. You get numbed with it until you realise there's a family behind each and every one of those statistics.
100%.
Can we change tack?
Yes.
Should we have a look at something which is a lot more pleasant? And this is Sebi Hall.
Ah, brilliant.
But there's this statue of Sebi Hall that's going to be melted down.
Yes, horrendous. So Sebi Hall, just to put it in perspective, I first came across him on the Neil Oliver show, and I know Ellie's interviewed him as well.
Yeah, he's great.
He basically was voted UK's kindest person, and he's basically done a random act of kindness. He says kindness is his superpower, and he's basically helping disadvantaged kids and so on and so forth. He's raised thousands. Eddie Marsden and I went down to Tower Hill.
Eddie Marsden, what a fabulous actor.
Brilliant actor. Andrew, who's he? But you worked on that sort of bit. And we went down to November, and here's the statue. This is us outside as well. We went down last November, and they had this glorious statue of Sebi erected by the Thames. And what happened? It went back to his hometown of Lichfield. That particular centre is now going to be closed down, and the statue will be melted down and destroyed unless we can find a new home. So it's a plea, if you like, to the brilliant people in the world of GB News to try and find a new home for Sebi Hall statue.
Why can't the good people of Lichfield find somewhere for it to go?
That's the problem. They had it in one of these centres, but that centre's been closed down for redecoration.
There's got to be somewhere it can go.
You would absolutely think. And Ashley Hall, who's his brilliant mother, I had the joy of spending the day with her during the whole thing, and also with the father as well. They've also got lots of help from the community. They're looking. But if people have got suggestions as to how we can continue to honour Sebi in this way, but also what Sebi would want to do is want to continue to spread the whole message of kindness and things like that. And what better way of doing it than to have the statue and focus energies on that as well?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, isn't it nice to see a young man, what's he, 21?
21, yeah.
Seeing a young man trying to promote a little bit of kindness, I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
We need lots of that as well, don't we?
Good on him.
Winston, have you ever had the feeling when you get home from holiday that you need to go on another holiday?
I've just got that right at the moment.
have you?
Been back for a couple of weeks, and
Where did you go?
Portugal.
Oh, lovely.
So yeah, I could do with a holiday. But yeah, there's a report or a survey that's come out and said that 1 in 10 doesn't get enough sleep when we're on holiday. That there are issues with heat in holiday rooms, uncomfortable mattresses, and generally people lots of the time going away. Millions of us come back from holiday feeling like we need another break, a survey has revealed. So yeah, 100%. I've actually got some good friends, Kathy and Steve, who are watching, right? And Kathy has broke her leg while on holiday.
What's Kathy been up to?
I don't know. Been dancing around or doing what they're doing. And it's,
go on holiday, break a leg.
But it's break it literally, you know, so they're going to need a holiday when they come back. But
people also get sick on holiday because when your immune system goes down, don't they? All of a sudden you're relaxing, you no longer have that buzz of adrenaline. So absolutely, what I love about this, and it's always good to hold the thing up, they always have the best photos. So apart from the holiday, they've got the best photo of the Safe and Hound as well, which I always love, always a good story for a dog. But they worked on that sort of basis. So they're talking about have that extra holiday because you need it after a holiday, you need another one to recover.
But the other thing is, I just found, like, when I was just wages now, is that I want to get on with things. I want to get up and experience things and go on trips and get out. And I don't like stopping, even though I probably should just stop and do nothing.
I'm the worst at lying still.
Oh, are you?
I can't do it. You know, people love a beach holiday. That's my worst nightmare.
I have 10 minutes.
I have no problem.
You have no problem with that. My whole life's a holiday, so it's fine. I think you need variety, though. People do get bored on holiday.
I do, well, yeah.
And I think you need to have lots of different things. But
little bits to do. Every other day, a little trip out in the afternoon.
You like a trip out, and you like a long walk.
Where would you go? Where would be your long walk?
Well, if I was at work, but you see, like, we're going away in September, and we're going to go... I was going to say snowmobiling, but it's not. What do you call it? The jet ski.
Jet
skiing is
well,
brilliant.
Good.
That's really good.
Good fun.
But I could do that, and that would be my day's activity.
No, but that's good. But you're right. You need to have a magazine day, do different things every day. But you need to look after your pets as well, which is why the story's relevant. So they miss you. They miss you while they're away.
They do miss you, but it's why you've got to do a lot of research in getting the right place.
Where does Timmy go?
Timmy goes to a really lovely cattery, and Rex goes to a really lovely doggery.
A doggery?
Kennels.
I'm allowed to say that.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
you can say that.
No, probably not. But yeah, so he goes. But we've done a lot of research in finding the right places so we know they're safe, secure, and happy there.
Yeah, you need to be safe and secure because they get traumatised. If they're away from home, they think you've deserted them.
Don't upset Stephen, he won't want to go.
No, I don't want to think about it. Andrew, Winston, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Let's have a look at the weather.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to your GB News weather forecast for this morning, and it's a damp and humid start to your Thursday. We've got some heavy rain on the cards through the day today, but brighter signs as we go into Friday. Taking a look at the picture out there this morning, quite a grey, damp start across Wales, southwest England, and that rain spreads its way in across Northern Ireland and northern counties of England as well. As we go into the afternoon, some of that rain will turn quite heavy across these northern counties of England, Northern Ireland, southern Scotland. We could get the odd rumble of thunder. Largely Mostly dry towards the southeast, though, some sunny breaks, but you can see how humid it is across the map. Temperatures of 21 to 24 degrees, feeling really quite uncomfortable out there with all that going on. Let's take a closer look then as we zoom across into Scotland. Through Thursday evening, still staying dry across the Northern Isles. As we come down into mainland Scotland, quite a lot of rain for the evening rush hour, so do take care if you're heading out and about. Moving southwards into northern England, some heavy pulses here denoted by the yellows and reds on the chart there. A lot of low cloud for Wales, outbreaks of rain and drizzle, similarly for the southwest of England as well. Somewhat drier further south and east though. Those temperatures staying on the warm side, and it stays warm and humid as we go through Thursday night. Further bits and pieces of rain to come, mainly out towards our western hills and coasts, but still some showers working their way eastwards. A lot of low cloud out there as well. Some clear skies towards the end of the night further north. Temperatures somewhat fresher here, but an uncomfortable night further south. 18 or 19 degrees really will feel uncomfortable first thing on Friday. Now, we get rid of that rain fairly early on across the southeast, some cloud to follow on behind. But actually, for England and Wales, a much brighter day to come on Friday. Much less humid, much more in the way of sunshine, feeling quite pleasant. And some sunny spells too further north, but a scattering of showers for Scotland, Northern Ireland and the far north of England. Top temperature, 25 degrees for the southeast, warmer still as we head towards the weekend. Bye-bye.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The A92 Tay Road Bridge is closed each way to high-sided vehicles because of strong winds. The M42 from Warwickshire into Staffordshire is partly blocked northbound by an accident just before junction 10 for the A5 at Tamworth, with queues from junction 9 at Curdworth. The A1 in Cambridgeshire is closed each way between the A47 at Wansford and the A43 south of Stamford after an accident overnight. There are long delays each way towards the closure and as you divert. On the M5 in Worcestershire, 2 out of 4 lanes are closed northbound between junctions 5 and 4A from Droitwich to the M42 after an accident causing delays. Train services are suspended between Bedford and Ridgemont because of overhead line problems. In Hertfordshire, the A602 is closed along Stevenage Road in Hitchin after an accident. On the M26 in Kent, there are westbound queues towards the M25 because of roadworks.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
We could be calling you with the news that you've won our latest Great British giveaway. An incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. David from Kent was our last big winner. Listen to what he had to say about getting that winning call.
Hi, I'm David from Kent and I won £15,000 and it couldn't have come at a better time. I was gobsmacked. What have you got to lose for what it costs? In fact, I've done it again this week, so I'd recommend it to anybody.
For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2 or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking... This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning to you. Anti-racism protesters unite.
Thousands of counter-protesters take to the streets.
That's after last night saw the largest mobilisation of police in a generation as Britain braced for 100 anti-immigration protests.
In an unprecedented move, King Charles asked the government for daily updates on the demonstrations as tensions remain high.
Stormont gears up as the Northern Ireland Assembly is recalled today. That puts pressure on Sir Keir Starmer to follow suit.
It's turning more humid through Thursday, but with that comes some rain. I'll have all the latest for you very shortly.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. I want to pay Stephen a compliment from Winhurst, but he doesn't like it because he gets uncomfortable, don't you?
I do.
Can I read it, though?
Go on, man.
So we've been talking about changing jobs because EasyJet has started a recruitment drive for people in their 50s to become cabin crew. Anyway, we were talking about Stephen potentially changing his job because you are.
Thank you. Yes, I am. I'm proud.
And proud. Wynne says, don't change your job, Stephen. We would miss you far too much, with a little love heart emoji.
Oh.
50, from someone closer to 70, you're just a young'un.
Ah, it's about time someone said that to me, Wynne.
There you go.
Just a young'un. People get irritated when... Who was it here? It was like about 33, 34 and say, I'm so old now. And it's like, you're so young, you're a baby at 34. And people get offended, but actually, it's just quite nice. You're a baby at 34.
Are you? Robert says, I grew up on a farm and I left it and I was a registered nurse for 15 years. I gave that up when I was 40 and I now work back on the farm. Best career change I ever made.
Which one? Leaving the farm or going back to the farm?
Let us know.
That's it. I tell you what worries me about it, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, and a lot of people do it, and that's all well and good. What worries me slightly is that sort of continuity of life. It's like that, I know what I am.
It's part of your identity, isn't it, what you do for a job?
Being a journalist is absolutely part of my identity. It's what I've always done.
And you're proud of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I sort of think if I suddenly wasn't a journalist, I don't know, I wouldn't feel like me.
Do you know what? I think a lot of it is down to vocation, though, isn't it? And there's lots of jobs where people feel as though it's their calling, like a nurse or a doctor or perhaps even a journalist. And then it's part of your identity, isn't it? It's part of what you aspire. You've always aspired to be it, and you're proud of what you are.
But there are a lot of people...
Someone like Pete, who says, I've had a portfolio career in the gig economy for most of my life, and for me it works well to have 2 or even 3 part-time jobs. Stops me getting bored in just one job. I don't have to quit and keep finding a new employer.
It's a good idea, actually. Yeah, if you don't have a job that you're sort of desperately in love with, as it were, then, why not have various different strings to your bow? Yeah, that's all. Well, that's fair enough, actually.
Yeah, nice views. Keep them coming in. gbnews.com/you'll say.
Now, thousands of anti-racism protesters took to the streets across the country last night in a peaceful show of solidarity against anti-immigration groups.
Well, police forces had braced for more than 100 demonstrations, prompting many businesses to close early over fears of violence.
Well, the King has apparently asked for daily updates about the ongoing disorder. That is quite unusual in and of itself.
Yeah, unprecedented. Well, GB News South East England reporter Ray Addison joins us live now from Croydon. And what was the scene like in Croydon last night, Ray?
Well, scenes of violent disorder, according to the Metropolitan Police. Around 50 young people gathering here on North End. It's the main shopping area here in this part of Croydon. And 10 arrests were made in total by the Metropolitan Police, 15 across London as a whole, which shows you the significance of the events that were taking place here last night. Now, Metropolitan Police saying that it was mainly young people, around 50 young people intent on causing disruption. They're saying it wasn't far right, it wasn't the pro-immigration protests or the anti-far right protests, but simply individuals who were intent on causing this kind of disruption. But locals telling me that actually they did see banners, they did see flags being waved that seemed to indicate that at least some of the people that turned up and perhaps were not involved in the violence were trying to make a statement against the far right and that they were pro-immigration. But people's telling us here that they were very afraid. They were looking out of their windows, they were looking down onto the scene here and were very scared to leave their home. This is what they had to say.
wrap-ups here and there, but obviously those are people trying to stir stuff up. But overall, the protesters who were going against the violence as well.
It was crazy and scary. I came out from the house just for like 5 minutes, walk to around here, and I turned around because, I don't know, and I kept looking out the window to see if it comes any closer. It's terrifying, to be honest.
I think it's a complete catastrophe what's going on still. I just hope that the people can find some kind of common sense in it.
So a little bit of a difference there to what the police have been telling us. People also saying that there were those here who were protesting against the far right. 10 arrests in total. Arrests were made, we're told, on suspicion of violent disorder, assaulting an emergency worker, one person going equipped for arson, and also breaching of a Section 35 dispersal order which had been in place. Metropolitan Police saying that people here, the young people here, were picking up objects, throwing bottles at the police, setting off fireworks in their direction as well, although thankfully nobody seriously hurt. Met Police Commissioner Mark Rowley telling us that he's actually quite pleased with how the policing went across London. He's also saying that dawn raids were made this morning, dawn arrests were made this morning, picking up people who were involved in some of the other protests that we've seen, such as the ones in Whitehall. And he's saying that around 70% of the people they've arrested so far have got prior criminal backgrounds, and he's saying that those people are going to go away for quite a long time, and we've certainly seen that with some of the sentencing that we've seen in the last couple of days. So this was the scene of some of the most violent demonstrations taking place in London, but for now all is quiet here in Croydon.
OK, Ray, thank you. Well, the Northern Ireland Assembly has been recalled to debate violent protests following days of unrest there.
Well, of course, it's putting increasing pressure on Sir Keir Starmer to bring the Westminster Parliament together, with some saying that Cobra meetings simply aren't enough, given the level of disorder.
Let's talk to our Northern Ireland reporter, Doogie Beattie, who's outside Stormont for us this morning. I mean, there is pressure on Westminster to be recalled. Now that Stormont's done just that, will it make any difference, do we think?
Probably not would be the short answer to that. You only need 30 signatures to recall the Stormont Assembly, as most devolved institutions, because they don't have any control over immigration. And when you're actually looking at what they're talking about debating today, they're saying that they want to condemn the violence, they want to condemn the attacks on premises and businesses inside Northern Ireland. Every single person in Northern Ireland would agree with that. They are showing their support for the PSNI. Again, people would agree with that. The only bit of controversial policy that is in place today is there is pressure now being put on the First and Deputy First Minister to finish the draft on racism legislation and equality. Now, that may cause a little bit of debate in the chamber, but really and truly most of these parties are going down the road of condemnation. That will not take away from the problems that are actually behind this. You've got to remember that the people who are on the streets here protesting are from working class areas that has seen the majority, vast majority, of undocumented illegal immigrants going into those areas. And that has changed the whole concept of those communities. And those communities are now really saying, enough, politically are you listening to us? Now that is causing anger, and anger brings out fear, and of course that is spilling out onto the streets. Last night we had about 3 different minor disturbances, 5 arrests, but interestingly they were in East Belfast, South Belfast and North Belfast, and the night before we had disturbances in West Belfast, and that is a nationalist area on the Falls Road. So really the politicians here for decades have been used to orange and green politics, and now we have almost a uniting of working class areas, not just in Northern Ireland, but the whole way through Ireland, saying they want their politicians to listen to them and address the problems that are there.
OK, Doogie Beattie there for us in Stormont. Thank you very much indeed. Let's speak now to our Home and Security Editor, Mark White, who joins us now in the studio. Very good morning to you, Mark.
Morning.
And what's your assessment of what we saw last night?
Well, a largely peaceful night, but really down to one factor, and that was that the protesters and the protests that were planned largely didn't materialise. We know that various police chiefs are giving themselves a self-congratulatory slap on the back and saying that they had robust policing plans in place, which I'm sure they did, but the violence was avoided because one side, more or less, apart from a few very minor exceptions, Blackpool, for instance, where a very small number of protesters turned out, no one turned out. So you had all of these thousands of people in communities across the country turning up under the banner of Stand Up to Racism, but they'd no one to come up against and rail against, so it all went very peacefully.
Oh, I was going to say, thank heavens, in a way, because if the two sides had clashed, then there really could have been a problem.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the worrying issues in the messaging that's been coming out from, in particular, the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, who is praising the community for the united show of force. Well, it would have been an entirely different situation if, in those London boroughs, there was a significant number of protesters who came out. Then we potentially would have been looking at some serious disorder. But this is what he said in a round of media interviews this morning on that very topic.
Massive policing operation. I'm really pleased with how it went. And we put thousands of officers on the street, and I think the show of force from the police and, frankly, the show of unity from communities together defeated the challenges that we've seen. And it went off very peacefully last night. A couple of locations we had some local criminals turn out and try and create a bit of antisocial behaviour, and we arrested a few of them. But it was a very successful night, and the fears of sort of extreme right disorder were abated. So a successful operation thanks to communities and police.
So let's be honest about this. The very significant numbers of those that turned out were peaceful, law-abiding people who were very concerned about what was happening to their communities and wanted to show that on the streets. But in and amongst them are, I would say, professional protest types that come out, the anti-racism protests that we see a lot. And I speak to frontline officers all the time, and they tell me that their input out in protest is often very unwelcome, because what it means is that it's more difficult in terms of a policing operation, because they then have to police two separate groups. Both groups are shouting and screaming, throwing objects at each other, and that just raises the tensions as well. And as well as the fact that there were certainly many, many people, right-thinking people from the community in and amongst those. We saw lots of people out in these protests as well, masked up youths, people that were clearly looking and spoiling for a fight. They didn't get that last night, but if the other protesters do turn out in force at any one time, I wonder how wise it is to encourage people to be coming out and showing this level of unity or force against them.
OK, Mark, for now, thanks very much indeed.
Now, at 13 minutes past 9, imagine having £30,000 extra in your bank to play with this year.
It could be yours in our latest Great British giveaway. It's our biggest cash prize, and this is how it could be yours.
Don't miss out on your chance to win a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. It's extra cash that could really make a difference to your coming year. You could find yourself on that holiday you've always wanted to take, buy that treat that always seemed out of reach, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could be yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. Are you comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister?
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
One local cricket team was made up entirely of one family, the Jollens.
The Newmarket midweek seconds played Thurlow and Old Millgreenian seconds, captained by, here we go, James Jolland. He played alongside family members Henry, Freddie, George, Jack, Archie, Ryan, Brandon and Daniel. Even if slightly controversial, one of the umpires was a Jolland to Stephen the umpire.
Yes, well, the Jolland family mostly live in Wickenbrook in Suffolk and have played for 4 years for Dullingham Village team before it merged with Newmarket. So that's the entire backstory. We're delighted to be joined now by Captain James Jolland and teammate and brother Nick Jolland. Really good to see you both this morning. This is incredible. How did you get the entire family involved in cricket?
Well, we started the club about 3 years ago, and it was more friends and family. But then it had this opportunity of this week to get everyone involved, because everyone was back and they all played cricket, various levels, and the youngest being 12, George. And we're all available, so we thought 1 week we'd do the whole team.
You booted the friends out for 1 week only?
Yeah, they were very good about it. They come and watched. They supported us.
How did the other team feel about having an umpire with related ties?
Well, the captain of the Thurlow is one of our friends. We do know him, so he was fine with it, and there was no controversial decisions at all.
I think it's a fantastic strategy.
No, yeah.
You could plant somebody.
That's the way
in a position of authority. It's a great idea.
Oh, look, here's the scorecard we can see on the screen with all of your names on there. Some fantastic English names on there. How does it get between the family members? Is it very, very competitive between you all?
As you get older, you work on that, don't you? And you keep that competitiveness out of it. And it's really to play with your sons. It's a great thing to do.
Yeah, it's a lovely
We've
thing
all
to
got
do.
sons in it. That's why we do it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It is 18 minutes past 9. Now, we've been talking about, obviously, the violent disorder we've seen over the last week, and then what was expected last night was 100 protests. That didn't happen, thankfully, but there were a lot of other people that came out, sort of what you would tag as anti-racist campaigners and people up and down the country, really. And that all went very peacefully. So it's actually been a pretty good night as far as that goes. Let's talk to the Minister for Policing, Dame Diana Johnson, who joins us now. Really glad to have you on the programme this morning.
Good morning.
What has dampened the tensions? Why do you think last night ended up going so well?
Well, first of all, I just want to pay tribute to the police officers who've been on the front line over the last few days and then last night as well. So I think that's important that we recognise their bravery and courage dealing with some of the violent criminal behaviour in the streets. Secondly, I think it's worth just paying tribute again to the police leaders for making sure that we had the police officers available yesterday. And the other thing that's important to remember is that we are starting to see that swift justice for people who behave in this criminal way on our streets. The thugs and hooligans who were attacking the police, who were putting communities in fear for their lives, are now in court and are being sentenced. And yesterday we saw one of them up in Liverpool who'd punched a police officer get 3 years for that. So I think that swift justice is really important, as well as the police officers being on the streets.
And do you think that swift justice, those tough sentences, the speed of which this is being policed and the way in which this is going through the courts, is this all act as a deterrent?
I think it's a combination, isn't it? I think that what we saw last night were the vast majority, the law-abiding people of this country, expressing a view that we live in a tolerant Britain. We are law-abiding people. We do not like to see this disorder, this violence, this criminality on our streets. So I think it's that. I think the public revulsion at what happened, the police being on our streets, providing that security and safety, and then the swift justice. So I think it's a combination of things that makes me cautiously optimistic about how this is now being dealt with.
Well, I mean, let's hope so. Let's hope so. But is there any concern from you about Sir Mark Rowley? I mean, he's praised these communities for coming out last night. Now, as our expert here has been saying, that there is a concern with that. If you sort of put a lot of onus on people coming out, if there had been a clash, you know, a clash of one side against another, well, that actually makes it much harder for the police, doesn't it? Almost becomes vigilantism.
Well, what we were saying in government yesterday was encouraging people not to go on these counter-protests. We wanted the police to be able to do their job and dealing with some of the incidents that we knew were possibly going to happen last evening. And we were saying to people to stay at home. Now, clearly some people, as they have the right to do, came out to peacefully protest, and that's a tradition in this country, isn't it? But I think our advice was not to do that because we wanted the police to have all their available resources on dealing with any of the criminality and disorder that we'd seen in previous evenings.
Are you satisfied with the policing that you've seen managing this disorder over the past week or so? Because there have been accusations, haven't there, of two-tier policing, namely from Elon Musk, who has accused the Keir Starmer, two-tier Keir, he said, and also said on X, his platform, that civil war in the UK is inevitable. What did you make of those comments?
First of all, there is no two-tier policing. Policing in this country is done without fear or favour. I want to be very clear about that, and I think it's hugely wrong at this stage to be making those comments. It's irresponsible to say that. We need to get behind the police, and the government have been very clear. The police have our full support in dealing with this criminality and violence on our streets. The Prime Minister last Thursday convened senior police officers to meet him in Downing Street to talk about what resources they might need, whether they had additional powers that they might require. He was very much then, as is the Home Secretary now, saying that we support the police. They have a very difficult job to do. That kind of comment is completely wrong, and it makes me incredibly angry at this stage when our police are facing this level of disorder that someone would make those comments.
It has to be said, and it's not really been addressed, that I mean, certainly in a lot of places where the violence has been taking place, and nobody, let me be clear, nobody condones that. We certainly don't condone that. But there have been people who have been out peacefully protesting because they're concerned about the state of the country, about tensions over immigration and matters of that nature. That needs to be addressed, doesn't it, by government, rather than just saying everyone who comes out is far right.
Yes, and of course this country has a proud tradition of peaceful protest, and I know people have very differing and strong views about all sorts of issues, but that has to be addressed in a peaceful way. We've just gone through a general election where people had the opportunity to choose a political party that they wanted to be in government. The Labour Party is now in government with our manifesto, but I'm absolutely respectful of people having concerns about issues like immigration. But the thuggery, the violence, the disorder which we saw on the streets, the stoking up of the extremists on our streets is not what this country is about. This is not how we deal with issues of policy. And the government and the police will deal with this criminality. We are united in that, but of course we recognise the need for debate, discussion. That's absolutely part of our tradition.
OK. Diana Johnson, really good to see you this morning. Thank you.
That's it from us. We're back tomorrow from 6, aren't we?
We are. Up next, it's Britain's Newsroom.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to your GB News weather forecast for this morning, and it's a damp and humid start to your Thursday. We've got some heavy rain on the cards through the day today, but brighter signs as we go into Friday. Taking a look at the picture out there this morning, quite a grey, damp start across Wales, southwest England, and that rain spreads its way in across Northern Ireland and northern counties of England as well. As we go into the afternoon, some of that rain will turn quite heavy across these northern counties of England, Northern Ireland, southern Scotland. We could get the odd rumble of thunder. Largely dry towards the southeast though, some sunny breaks, but you can see how humid it is across the map. Temperatures of 21 to 24 degrees, feeling really quite uncomfortable out there with all that going on. Let's take a closer look then as we zoom across into Scotland. Through Thursday evening, still staying dry across the Northern Isles. As we come down into mainland Scotland, quite a lot of rain for the evening rush hour, so do take care if you're heading out and about. Moving southwards into northern England, some heavy pulses here denoted by the yellows and reds on the chart there. A lot of low cloud for Wales, outbreaks of rain and drizzle, similarly for the southwest of England as well. Somewhat drier further south and east though. Those temperatures staying on the warm side, and it stays warm and humid as we go through Thursday night. Further bits and pieces of rain to come, mainly out towards our western hills and coasts, but still some showers working their way eastwards. A lot of low cloud out there as well. Some clear skies towards the end of the night further north. Temperatures somewhat fresher here, but an uncomfortable night further south. 18 or 19 degrees really will feel uncomfortable first thing on Friday. Now, we get rid of that rain fairly early on across the southeast, some cloud to follow on behind, but actually for England and Wales, a much brighter day to come on Friday, much less humid, much more in the way of sunshine, feeling quite pleasant, and some sunny spells too further north, but a scattering of showers for Scotland, Northern Ireland and the far north of England. Top temperature 25 degrees for the southeast, warmer still as we head towards the weekend. Bye-bye.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB.